My name is Damien Green. I'm a physician scientist at Fred Hutch. In my laboratory here, we're focused on developing treatments for multiple myeloma. We've done pioneering research in the development of immune system-based approaches to treat cancer. We take a patient's own immune cells out of their body, change them so they become cancer attack dogs, and we put them back into the patient where they seek out and destroy the disease. Fred Hutch is a leader in immunotherapy. There is no place in the world that I believe will more quickly move science from the laboratory to patients where we can make a difference. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that donor dollars will ultimately translate into other people's survival. Thank you for making a difference for our patients. Because of you, we're going to find a cure.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is finally time after weeks of getting to this point. We have whittled down to our top 16 teams. It is time for the start of the 303 Royale Grand Finals. And I am joined by the one and only Matrim. And Matrim, tell me, like this lobby, we've seen how strong some of these teams are. How excited are you for the games tonight?
All right, let's be real. We had some phenomenal games last weekend. It was just wild. The circles were all over the place, and we constantly saw teams stepping up, finding new ways to deal with all the hurdles that were being thrown their way. I'm hoping we get to continue that trend right now. I want to see all of these regions coming together, and I want to see who's going to really just show up and make a name for themselves because there are so many chances, and today starts the beginning of that.
Yep, and don't forget, guys, there are going to be 4 days of the grand finals. There is today and tomorrow, 5 games apiece, and then next Saturday and Sunday, same time, we're going to have another 2 days of games. So it's going to be an exciting one. I know that I'm super excited. Why don't we take a quick look over at exactly what teams are going to be taking part? You know, have a quick rundown of what we're looking out for today.
I mean, if you guys have been tuned in, there is a ton of teams that you guys should be familiar with. No matter, pretty much, as long as you haven't been watching EU or Korea or China, you're going to have a team that you're familiar with inside of this event. Now then, we got to take all of them, mesh them together, throw it all, and see how it's all going to come out and how everybody is going to play through this entirety. Really, it's a phenomenal chance. Like, I know. We're for a lot of these teams to step up because yes, we do have some teams that are back over at PGI.S right now. But on top of that, this is a prime opportunity to really, one, encourage more like communication between regions because that's always phenomenal whenever like teams kind of, I wouldn't say create rivalries, but just start to respect each other more. That just grows all of PUBG in general as well because now they're going to start trading ideas, talk about different ways to play the game. And then right now, we're going to start to see how these different strategies, all these different regions, and all these different metas are going to stack up against each other when we've got the best of the best 16.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen some absolutely insane games already coming out from a lot of these teams, you know. Teams that, you know, have kind of clashed to some extent where teams maybe not used to playing against kind of different metas here. And there have definitely been some teams that have struggled, you know, whether it was through the qualifiers, through the group stages. But I mean, looking at the teams in this lobby, it is absolutely stacked. Guadalajara Gascans did take first in the group stages with 107 points, so they're definitely going to be a one to watch. But Comet's Fury as well, both very closely behind in the group stages, also extremely strong squads. And let's not forget our LATAM teams as well. A Crash, Just Too Easy, Old Times, and Synergy, and Young Kings. So LATAM with some serious representation going into these finals.
Yeah, it was okay. Whenever we're looking back towards the group stages moving through here, Gaskins started off phenomenally strong, and then kind of I would say they slowed down a little bit towards the end. Meanwhile, Fury had a phenomenal first day, and then the next time that they played, it was near on silence from them. We didn't hear a lot coming out from it. But on the other side of that, Comets had a weak start and then kicked it off towards the last end of it, picking up a whole bunch of points just in the last few rounds. So now the question comes into play. Fury, can you take what was working day one? Comets, are you going to continue the trend, or are we going to go back to seeing a little bit more of a wish-wash with them? Because whenever that happens, teams like Veritas, Old Times, Just Too Easy, they're going to find phenomenal ways to step up into this and really just make it an even bloodier mid and late game.
Absolutely. And I think an important thing to remember as well is that these teams now, sure, they performed really well last weekend when each team was only playing 2 sets of games, one on a 2 days out of the 3.
Mhm.
It was group stages, a lot more teams in the mix. Now I think is when we're really going to see teams that have a lot more competitive experience getting a lot tighter together, because they're going to have the opportunity to look back at VODs. They don't have to study 24 different teams. Instead, they just study 16 teams. Any teams that are causing a threat to them, they have the opportunity to kind of analyze that and make adjustments, which is something I feel like the more veteran squads are going to be able to do than maybe the less veteran ones. But at the same time, looking at this lobby, I don't think there are really any new teams as such. I feel like we have kind of whittled it down to a lot of very experienced players.
Well, we often talk about the fact that PUBG is an information-based game, and a lot of that does start before you even get into the lobby. It's going back and doing your homework, figuring out, okay, we talk about drop locations a lot. Drop locations are important, but knowing where the secondary moves based off of how circles, like let's say it's a northern shift, and how would this team move and where do they like to go next? These types of things are going to be highly influential inside of these first couple of rounds, because when we're looking at a group stage, sometimes you got to be a little bit more reactionary. You don't know always what's going to happen, how everybody's going to go through there. Like you said, there's a ton of teams you're going to have to study. Now that we're down to just the 16 and they're going to be playing against each other for a while, homework, studying, and really just understanding how these other teams and the goals of these other teams are going to be a huge benefit. Now then, if you're one of those teams that just likes to run and gun it, there are still benefits for that, because you can be a little bit chaotic and less, and I guess harder to read than some of the more formulaic teams. But the problem that you're going to see is the formulaic teams already know how to account for some of that chaos that those chaotic teams are going to bring as well.
Yep, and I think we're definitely going to see a lot of those kind of more frag heavy teams gonna start to struggle a little bit more now, because I mean, when it comes to group stages and qualifiers, you can kind of be like, oh, this team, they catch you off guard. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't expect them to kind of just W key onto your position and start getting involved. Now, however, that you've had the opportunity to kind of study your opponents a little, learn how they play, if you see those names get a knock on your teammate, sometimes it's a case of, look, dude, we're in a bad position. We see that you're down. Usually we take this fight, but this team isn't going to let off. We just need to back off and reset here. And I think that might cause some issues for a lot of these edge teams that kind of spread out and like going frag heavy, super aggressive.
Well, see, that's kind of the thing, is a lot of these frag heavy super aggressive teams, there's kind of two breeds of them. There's the ones that it just seems chaotic but actually know exactly what they're doing. Like, they'll get a knock on somebody and go, oh, we know these guys run 2-2 splits based off of this positioning, and know to try to capitalize off of it. So while it does seem like it's just YOLO W key for some teams, it's not always. Now, you are 100% correct that there are some teams that are just like, man, screw it, we're stuck on the edge, kill whatever moves kind of situation. And that's going to be the question comes into play is, how many are going to be chaotic teams whenever you're going to be kind of coming in and, for lack of a better term, YOLO edge style? If there's a whole bunch of other YOLO edge styles, it makes for one hell of an interesting circle, but it also does add into that chaos. And so if everybody's leaning into YOLO life, dude, tons of violence. But if everybody's kind of taking it a little bit more strategic with their going for kills, then you'll see a lot of the teams doing like what you were talking about, being like, okay, we lost one, make the sacrifice, just distract them for as long as you can by crawling somewhere weird or something like that while they try to make an escape.
Yep, and I think, going into game one, it's going to be up in the air a little bit. A lot of the time, teams were doing a lot of reaction drops in the group stages, having to adjust. You mentioned it earlier. And now that we go into game number one of the evening, it's going to be interesting to see where the teams are deciding to, this is our drop spot. We're fighting for it. No team is getting it. They're going to potentially take the first few games engaging onto this. Or whether they decide, you know what, let's just try and play passive, get off to an early start, and take whatever drop spot is left for.
And really what we're always looking at since we're coming into the very beginning of this is looking for maintaining your average point total being as high as possible. We kind of hinted towards it whenever we're looking at the group stages, like 5 or so, that's solid. But if you get more than that, great. But if you see a team that's stuck on edge, let's say circle 2, entirely surrounded, don't be surprised if you just start to see them go, okay, that's it. We've got to try to just get some kills, get anything we can. Because even if you're only going to be able to get 2 kills is better than walking away with 0 and walking away with no points in a round. So Sometimes look for the small successes because as we've seen, Chunks, a lot of times 1 or 2 points can be a real deal breaker for these teams.
Yep, and you know, the good thing and the bad thing is the fact that, look, even if you don't get off to the best start this weekend, teams will have the opportunity to adjust. So if they aren't quite able to get that point average that they're looking for, they might be able to pick it up towards the end. But actually, as we hop into game number 1, Pachinki is already looking like a bit of a messy one. Never mind Fury and NoCap all landing around Gatka as well. This could make things a bit rough on the early game now.
Yeah, Fury doing a little bit of a reset. We got No Cap, one of their members back over there. Insight's got a little bit of vision back over towards it. Slappers, meanwhile, looking back over towards Kresh. Memo's going to go ahead and toss the grenade, but I don't think it's going to connect off on that angle too efficiently just quite yet. Really, we've got the standoff that's playing out. It's the northern side versus back over towards the southern side. A nice split coming back over, and the circle popping back over towards a very centralized location. But remember, the plane path came back in over towards the west, so this is going to allow for a lot of potential coming in through this. T8 also envision a little bit of Veritas, but I think that we're going to see Pachinki calm down a little bit. The Fury, no cap situation kind of separated out a little bit as well. So a little bit of fear coming into play, but let's go ahead and take a quick listen into the comms, trying to figure out what's going on in the situation with Pachinki.
Almost knocked him, his first floor, yellow. He's 1 HP, first floor. Kitchen side, I guess.
He's running northeast. There's 3 guys northeast now. I think they're like this. Blue line.
Okay.
I don't think anyone's in the triple. I don't hear.
Comes. I think one is still close to me.
One on green confirmed.
I have no vest, otherwise I would have peeked.
Really red. One is yellow. We don't have to push or anything, like they're fucked.
Yeah.
You got a vest now? One was in Recrant. Should be still in Recrant.
Yeah.
Top floor Recrant. Recrant is the building on right yellow blue line. Right
Top
blue
floor?
line. Yeah, he was balcony.
And this is a struggle of an urban game. You can see how it's a matter of
Where's
trying
the
to feed
fourth?
information back over towards your teammates to
Do we
figure
know?
out how to make your move.
It's probably closer to church side. I pushed up pretty high in South Street, but then I came back because I was overextended. See anything over there though?
Someone needs
floor
to play
still?
like this triple.
He's still top floor.
And we just hear how intense things are for those teams right now. They can't really get super engaged on towards this. They don't want to risk losing any players in the early games, so just kind of playing passive. And you heard Slappers say, look, we need to take this slow for the time being. We're inside zone. We don't have to engage onto this too early. So it looks like they're just going to try and play this kind of slow. But we do see Just Too Easy already. They're going to be taking shots over towards Dodge as they rotate through later, maybe realizing that players are going to be inside this compound, instead deciding to back off and go for something a little bit further inside the zone.
Yeah, right now we're still in a little bit of a chaotic stage. We were talking about homework earlier. Chunks, it feels like a couple of these teams either did some homework and we're trying to capitalize off of it, or we're just getting a little bit of chaos off the start as everybody just thought that their comfort positions would be their go-tos. So, still pretty quiet, all things considered. Only one person has died so far. With the circle set up the way it is, let's be real, fairly centered, plenty of locations that can still be played, but do note that whenever we're looking through here, apartments, school area tends to be pretty close towards center, so seeing a lot of teams start to make a little bit of a rotation in that direction. Notably, look at Dodge back over towards the south there in the orange. They're already sending Finna way back over towards the east to look back over towards prison, and this looks like this is kind of giving Just a little bit more space because they do kind of drop and play around this position. So this is a good read coming up from Dodge to maybe make a play back over towards the eastern part and see if maybe they can catch some people in rotation if we see some wide wraps come into play.
Yeah, and I think it goes to show just, homework is a big thing when it comes to PUBG, especially in these events, where, look, Dodge had the opportunity to go back, analyze. They're a well-disciplined team. They've had the opportunity to do some VOD review. They see Just Too Easy have made this, so now they want to get a player into zone early, try and maybe almost as a bait to try and get a little bit of info on exactly where these Just Too Easy players are. But I mean, Finna is going to be able to make it over towards prison without too many issues. And still here, we do see a Crash and Slappers just locked in this stalemate inside of Pachinki right now.
It's kind of like a civil war, for lack of a better term. You got the northern versus southern part of Pachinki. Slappers trying to make a position back over and get away from Crash's positioning. Fury is also making a rotation that could put them kind of close to Pachinki based off of whenever we see Slappers leave. It's all about taking the first shot, really. If we see either one of these teams get it down, then something might happen off of it. But Pachinki is such a dangerous location to try to take an early game fight in because somebody can flank around. There's so many walls. There's so many blind spots. You can see a lot of these teams just kind of not really wanting to commit on either side right now. But Danny G did make the commitment to make his way back over towards the east and meet up with Finna, and does go down to a nice bit of positioning coming out from Enigma. Going to go ahead and get the flush back over towards that. And now Dodge kind of got its interesting spot because they've got a full-on 2 teams between them and no easy path to regroup.
Yeah, and you know what? I think Dodge maybe made a bit of a misplay there, if I'm completely honest. They sent Finna out early to get some info, but at the end of the day, was it too early? Did it allow teams that landed down near Farm, Milta, that kind of area, to work up to the north, and maybe what they thought was free ended up being completely taken? But we do see Illusion now. They're going to be in a bit of a stalemate with ATC. ATC do have the top side of the hill. Icy Flex is going to be opening up a couple shots, does land them on towards Light Show. Actually going to get another one into the vehicle, but he finishes the job. I'm surprised there. I thought Light was going to be able to get away, but no. Icy with the mini headshot will be able to take him down. ATC going to be moving for the res quickly now. Marcelic pulling up that vehicle, and Light Show should be resable from this position.
Oh, bye, Buggy.
Oh,
say bye.
no.
Yeah, you just got to commit to the res. Watch it go. Maybe they might be able to catch it before he gets through. Marcelic should be able to get the res in just 1 second. Icy Flex doesn't have easy vision back over to this dude, that little bit of a hill, but hopping in here is going to be a little bit dangerous, so jump in, throw it in reverse, and make sure to not run over Light Show. That would have been funny, but once they end up managing to coordinate it through and get into a nice position regardless. Also, a little bit of a skirmish looks like it's starting to happen, as it looks like Young Kings have found the positioning back over towards Just. So Just Too Easy looks like they've got themselves a little bit of vision to work with. Already got one of them down, and you can see the duo coming up for Just Too Easy holding down position. Veritas does hear this and taking long-range shots on the backside of Young Kings, so they have to play this a little bit carefully.
Yeah, a really nice shot landing down from Ribbo there as he does connect on towards Young Kings, but not quite able to finish the job as he will be getting spotted out. The nade lands and finishes him off with the barrel. Andy going to be able to get the flush on towards that. Now, Low-Key and Song Xing, they're going to be the 2 remaining players for Just Too Easy. Make it not as actually a really well-timed nade coming out from Andy there. Takes down Low-Key after FLP gets the knock on towards Song Xing. So Just Too Easy, our first team out in 16th place now.
Keep in mind, this was a 4th place whenever we were looking at the group stage. Overall point totals, Just Too Easy came in at 4th. The Young Kings comes in with good dominance, takes over, quick control, and in addition to that, walking away with 3 kills and a very good control spot inside of the circle. We do have a couple of rotations coming into play, a couple of people taking shots. Gas cans look like they're leaving military base just north of Milta. Going to go ahead and bump into SG. Nothing too crazy just quite yet. This is already inside the safe zone, so no teams are really having to commit to anything too terribly scary. All teams are inside the safe zone except for 2 members of No Cap. That No Cap's already got them in position right on the edge. So really it's just about a couple of warning shots coming through. Honey Badger, those got goals and says, hell no! You don't get to take a shot at me and just get away with it. Even finishes him off with the run over. Gonna be able to make it back away, only losing about half of his life, and now he's got himself a nice little compound for him and the rest of his teammates to just bunker down.
I'm wondering whether Honey Badger silent rolled into that then. I wasn't able to tell, but I'm honestly a little surprised here that Synergy didn't move that player out quicker, but a nice knock and kill coming out here from Guadalajara Gas Cans as they pick up their first point in the game. Adam has an idea that there's going to be a player over to the west. He hasn't got line of sight yet, as now he just denies the tires. And look, this is such a Gas Cans thing to do. They realize, oh, there's only 1 vehicle there, so there's at max 2 players, because it's very rare you see players, move in as a 4-man in a vehicle. vehicle. So they're starting to get an angle on towards this. Pippa playing up top, maybe not expecting this, but let's not forget, Danny up on the top of the hill could potentially come in for the third party here, cause some issues for Gascans as they do start to make the push. Nico's getting aggressive, looking like they're going to allow Adam to move in for the entry frags, working their way through. Adam with the UMP here, an interesting strategy. Pippa just playing the top floor very carefully, not wanting to give any info away, but things could get rough now as the glass starts to break. Nades are going to be landing down. Pippa jumps off at kind of a perfect time here, so the sound from that flashbang could potentially end up being a nice little disguise for Pippa here, but he does have to play it slow as Gascan's going to be looking to try and finish the job. Danny getting hit up with the barrel, not going to be able to finish the job, and actually Ogler's giving chase here potentially.
Nice bit of plays coming through there. Pippa gets himself a nice little bit of an angle, does go down afterwards, but they do manage to take down Honey Badger. You can see that there's a nice little drive around that's going around the outside of this, just kind of making as much noise as possible to potentially cover up footsteps. Everybody trying to make their play through that. Danny did try to go for high ground and a little bit of cover, so that's how come Pippa was leaning on playing on that balcony up on top, on the roof, whatever you want to call it. So with this, managed to get enough time to stall it out and find an angle. So yes, that is 2 members down right now, coming back over on the side for SG. But we do have one of the members going down for Gascans, and now Gascan's going to have to make their way inside the safe zone as the circle did pop and continues to stay centered up pretty much around Apartments Rajak School.
Yep, and as we hop on board with Fury now, I couldn't help but notice that they took a really interesting rotate. They went all the way from Gatka down to Ferry Pier and took the southern coast, only to end up against Slappers on this hill, which is exactly the team that we were thinking they could potentially run into if they took that direct east rotate. But it looks like that fight could end up engaging anyway, as we do see synergy here. Danny trying his best to survive after he's just lost a serious number of teammates over to Gascans. He has been able to get himself a compound, but I mean, it's one of those that is just so easy to crash if you're a 4-man.
Exactly, and that's I mean, I understand the wanting to get safety, but sometimes whenever you're by your lonesome, don't take what you would know to be a quote-unquote hot complex, because the only thing you're asking for is somebody to try to come up, and it's very hard to defend all by your lonesome. Back over towards the southwest, you can see the fact that we do have No Cap starting to make their way inside the safe zone, while we've got Fury and Slappers getting in very close range with each other right along Potato Hillside. So with this, up on the high ground is going to be Slappers, trying to get a little bit more information. Wykick Mukau kind of being the point man up for his team, trying to see if he can crest up, get a little bit more information at the top of the hillside, but with Slappers kind of playing way more defensively, no visions come out just quite yet. No Cap is back down on the western part of this hillside, can potentially take a couple of shots back up towards Fury, but no clear angles just quite yet.
Yeah, I don't even know whether Fury have the info on towards Slappers here. They were the ones taking shots over towards rotating vehicles, and I'm not sure whether Slappers took any shots, so I think they've used this as an opportunity to get some info. Sophia going to be able to spot out Kauno, decides to hop down, as Fury just have no info here. The zone does shift north up towards Rozok, so it is going to cause some issues. These teams have to either fight or disengage quickly, but it looks like Sophia wanting to start getting aggressive, spots out Ronan, as I think Drassel was opening up with a couple shots, but No Cap going to be rotating off to the west. They're drawing Fury's attention away, as now Fury looking like they could potentially just hop into vehicles, and a lot of teams going to be sending it over towards the school apartments area by the looks of things.
Do you know we have a lot of we have a little bit of Badlands still in play. Saw that come into effect with a couple of circles in our last games last week, but big rotations coming in back over towards the south, specifically along Pachinki and the school road is going to be very chaotic. You can see Selfish trying to line up a couple of shots back over, teams coming up back behind him. Do note Fury and Slappers are going to need to make a move based off into this position. So back over towards the north, you can see it's going to be a nice little reposition coming out as Old Time's going to run right back over next to Illusion. Remember, Illusion was holding up a little while ago, got that down back towards the light show, but it's just a full-on collapse back over towards Apartments as Young Kings tries to make a run right into Crush's position and definitely regrets it.
I gotta say, I love it when teams play over to these apartments here, because whether the circle lands there or it shifts away, you know it's gonna be a messy one. Young Kings, they sent it in, 3 kills already this game, but now KF9 gonna be the last player left standing. He is just gonna be blowing up that vehicle, but it's actually gonna be Hickman that picks up the kill for it. Comet's getting 1. Young Kings out in 15th, and Fury, they're gonna be rotating down this hill now as well in the vehicles. Insight will be pulling up, and I think Enigma have probably heard this now, as push. JR and Ripper looking out. Slapper's going to be following as the drive-by attempt will be coming out here from Hambino, landing some serious damage onto Febuary, straight in towards Insight, though. They get the knock and the flush. Slapper's going to be picking up their first point, but Drassel traded out as Ronan going down as well. Flood from range takes down Sophia, but Fury aren't going to last long enough as King from range takes down Flood, and that's going to be Fury out in 14th place now.
Good positioning coming up and narrowly finding a way to stay alive. No Cap's trying to reposition back up this hillside. They know if they can get in grenade range, this is the easiest set of kills that they will ever come across. Just trying to get in position. You can see the chain reses coming into play. Gonna be able to get that the second one back up. Now it's just poor Drassel, the last one up, and here it comes. Grenade rains down and just utterly destroys Slap.
Now, I know we don't have red zones in competitive, but that was the closest we'll ever get to it. No Cap with some perfectly timed nades, picking up some big kills. Enigma, they were looking like they wanted to potentially third party onto it, but as they lost some players from Comets down the hill, they weren't able to engage, which just left those kills open here for No Cap. Very well played as they move over towards the Badlands. A nice little split coming out. We'll be sending Beamy out towards Roz Hill to potentially try and get priority on towards it. The zone will pull down to the south, and there is the potentially a school Badlands finish. Gas cans rotating through as Adam getting taken out by Adit. He's gonna try and switch over to the SK to get the flush, but let's not forget, Beamy up to the north opens up here, takes down Oldless. Nico's seat swaps on the top of the hill, takes down Beamy as well, as now he's the final player left standing, 5 HP, but Old Times and Illusion up to his north. They hear these shots. They want to move in and take this position from him.
Circle is too tiny with not enough cover for all of these teams. So now it's run and gun your way in. Nico's contemplating, thinking maybe he can make play back over towards No Cap, get some vengeance. He wants to try to make sure he keeps this knocked player down below him. Maybe even get a res back over towards his teammate, but not gonna happen. Good shots coming up as yet again, Flammy is just on fire right now, and he is just decimating No Cap, up to 7 kills already.
Oh my, No Cap are just absolutely popping off in this early game now, as every team looking like they want to send it in towards hard cover, but it's just so limited. Potentially a lot of teams going to be sending it over towards school/apartments, as Jazza accidentally ran himself over with the vehicle, which leaves Veritas as 3 players strong. They've got that northern wall of school, but Tactical 8 from far in the northeast going to be opening up, as later the final player from Dodge will be going out to Marcelic from ATC, so they've cleared out that northeastern side. They can rotate through, but T8 are going to be trying to hold them out here. As Veritas, it's an interesting positions play. Looks like they're just going for a bit of a vehicle fort, as Comet's throwing down all of that utility, trying to connect with something, but they just don't really have clean info on exactly where Veritas are on that wall.
ATC coming in from the north, the exact same time Illusion's making a reposition, trying to make a reposition right over next to T8. This has a recipe for disaster set up all over it. Melon already down to near on no life, narrowly makes it into cover. The rest of the team just rolling up behind him. It's going to be as quick as possible to rotate through this and try to make their run through. Norcus' last guy coming through, down to near on no life, manages to make the jump, makes it over the wall, and just narrowly staying alive.
1 HP here for Norcus as he does manage to stay standing, and this has somehow worked out in the favor of ATC, as when this zone shifts, they're most likely going to be able to hold out Illusion here. So they're off to the northern side, as now we just see teams starting to stack up here. It's going to be rough. Nice shots coming out from Marcelic, as he's going to try and open a bit of damage on towards Comets, knowing that there is the potential. They have to crash school sooner or later, just keeping an eye out over in towards Rozok, as Old Times have good eyes on towards ATC right here. The circle going to start closing in. Most teams are inside, but ATC and Illusion opening up with a couple shots towards each other. T8 just repositioning, knowing they have to move soon. Let's not forget Danny as well, just playing solo inside that shack for the time being.
Yeah, he is inadvertently keeping everybody from T8. Okay, they just can't move forward. They want to try to find the angle for it. New circle's going to pop. Willing to bet school is still going to stay inside of it, as well as the hillside for Rozok. So now it's just the bad lane teams. No Cap has to move. I gotta say, that's troublesome for several of these teams, as every single time No Cap has decided to make a move, a team has died. So with this, Old Times has control back over towards the north. NEA back over towards the south, they're gonna have to move as well. But with ATC running through the gauntlet, getting into position, they also have a gatekeeping position that they can try to take up to try to stop Illusion from making a move. So No Cap looks like they've decided they're gonna play the backside of this hill, but Old Times could choose to retreat. from this position, make their way up to the hillside, and have a perfect vantage point back down towards NoCap. NoCap has a read on it instead, making a play back around the large hill, and you can see it's going to be at it, trying to get into angle, and it's going to be up to him to try to stop anybody from Old Times to crest that hill and force a secondary fight. But he hasn't gotten into position yet. It's going to be too late. He's got to look at the hillside. He's not even looking the right direction. Tries to go for the spray, and Adit is now down. That means that Burger, that's on the other side of the hillside, is going to be in a lot of trouble now. Being back behind this, trying to see if maybe he can find an angle, and you can see Burger knows this is going to be bad for him. Trying to see if maybe he can get something out of it, and it's going to be Illusion rolling right across the hillside, running right next to NoCap, trying to run through this position, and Illusion rolls right up on top of this one. Beanie does manage to connect with it.
That's so unfortunate for Illusion. They allowed ATC to make it into zone. They're just going to be holding them out now, but NoCap, they are popping off. Flamey will be going down as Enigma going to be sending it in towards them. JR finishes off the job. Enigma have got themselves a bit of a position, but up on the northwest now, we do see Illusion. They're trying to make their way in. They only have Freemy left up, and Old Times taking a fight on two fronts now, as ATC also going to be trying to make their way in towards Rozok. Marcelic holding on towards those windows, but it's not going to be enough just yet, as it looks like ATC potentially going to try and play this ridge to move aggressively here, and Illusion, they've taken it back up to 2 men strong right as Matthew goes down, so back to a solo. Freemy gonna flush out Matthew. Down he goes, denying the points. Smart play from Illusion, but they're not gonna pick up any placement this game. But down on the southern side, after Enigma took this position from NoCap, they're also gonna start engaging. Beanie with the barrel on towards Beams, takes him down. Burgers with the attempt at the mini drive-by, won't be able to finish the job. Beanie trying to make a final stand here on towards JR, and the final player left up from Enigma, but the nades are getting returned. Molotovs as well. Tries to pop the heel from long range though. Kazira gets the knock on towards Beanie with the headshot, leaving only one player left up from NoCap, one from Enigma, but the nade does land. Down goes JR.
Now Control, everything's starting to settle back over towards the west. NoCap's been fighting for a while, but finally going to get a little bit of a breather. ATC, Old Times, still lined up against each other, but ATC has the high ground advantage. The entire time this has been going on, Veritas still huddled against the northern wall, coming up against where Comets is holding down School and a Crash. Well, they got in that early fight for apartments. Been kind of quiet, really just taking a couple of shots back over towards T8, and there you go. Gonna shift back over towards the Badlands, so all of that fighting gonna pay off for NoCap. They find themselves with an angle and a good position from now, but it's gonna be a Kresh and T8 to move, and there's still a little bit of control for Old Times to play that southern area Rajat, but not a lot of good positioning for it. They know if they stay there that they're probably going to die.
Yeah, and we should point out as well that, I mean, these teams, we just saw what happened over towards Rozok. Now we're going to see a similar thing happening over at Apartments, where these teams have to start making a push. We're going to take a quick listen in on towards a Crash, though, and see exactly how they end up playing this, as they have a very rough rotate in this zone.
Dei capa no outro.
Dale, vem.
Ele tá piscina no outro, da porta.
Eles socaram onde? Aonde vocês socaram ele?
Eu noquei ele no principal aqui, velho.
Tem que crachar. Eu vou crachar no
Bora.
mundo da esquerda, eu vou da esquerda.
Tá. Vou crachar com você. Vou crachar aqui.
Baixa aqui mesmo, miséria, na entrada.
Ah, esse que eu morri. Cuidado com os caras das costas aí, velho. Cuidado com a Nate também. Dá pra pegar aqui o do skip lá na direita no meu filho. No pique do Kishen, laranja. Dá pra pegar aqui o lá, velho.
Saíram de cá. Eles vão crachar a escola também.
Eles vão querer juntar,
Eles vão
velho.
crachar na bola no morro aqui, velho. Vai ter que vir pra esquerda aqui, guys. É a esquerda quem tá?
Tem, né?
Vem aqui, ó.
While this is going on, T8 has made a rotation back over towards the north, trying to aggress back towards ATC's position, while Old Times is trying to make a move.
Cai não, cara. Cai não.
Mano, vai entrar. O bagulho vai entrar por aqui, né, velho?
Vou lá no 10. Pô, dá pra pegar aqui, ó.
Kishen, tem que smocar aqui pra passar, viado. Mano, vocês vão ficar presos no gás aí, velho.
Vamos ver, Deus.
Se for entrar por aí,
Vai ser osso
entra, velho.
passar isso daí, velho.
Não é muito
Ela
osso
só passa
não, velho.
agachado.
Só tem um cara aqui, velho.
Bora. Vira
Ah,
aí,
os caras
cara.
acertou a mole no meu pé, velho. Tá cagão. Tem uma mole aí na passagem, cuidado, velho. Eu já passei aqui, velho. Eu tô smocando aqui pra ele não conseguir picar, velho. Sim, eu smoquei aqui. Eu tô smocando pra ele não conseguir picar aqui, velho. Fácil. Eu tô safe aqui já, velho.
Tá tudo smocado já? Pode
Tô sem
passar?
cura. Pode passar,
Só
pode
passar,
passar.
só
No azul tem outro time, tá? Era
Eu
outro
dropei um
time,
kit aí, velho.
Tá. Se tiver perigo, alguém dropa aí se não estiver passando.
Mano, o bagulho ia entrar
Perigo
aqui,
eu tô
velho.
O bagulho é rushar esse cara aqui, velho, do auditório,
É,
velho.
Sim, bora.
É por
Mas
onde?
vai
Tem
ter
que
que
dar
dar o
volta.
route.
Porra, ele tá atacando o
Tô
molotov
puxando
no
aí,
HE, velho. Cuidado.
Eu rushei por aqui já. Já passei por aqui.
Deixa eu vou smocar então aqui, velho, pra
Smoga
nós
aqui, vamos
passar,
dar
velho.
vault, velho.
Eu vou smocar pra escola aqui pra nós passar, velho.
Então dá
Cara,
rock,
já
velho.
dei
Já
voz,
deu
já
voz,
dei
já deu
voz.
voz. Vamos entrar que chega, vamos entrar?
Vamos, vem.
Mano, cuidado. Ele vai
Mano,
ter um
eu acho
cruzamento
que-
fodido. E não
Mano,
dá pra
mano,
entrar, eu
pera,
acho.
pera,
Não,
pera,
dá,
segura,
Não,
dá,
segura.
vamos ficar parado, vamos ficar parado.
Kina,
Não,
pegou uma
não
posição
entrar,
boa,
não
velho. Só
entrar.
calma.
Dá pra alguém jogar comigo aqui, velho. É muito bom o jogo aqui.
Eu tô cruzado aqui com o Kishen.
Olha esse time.
So it looks like we finally have the swimming pool building going back over towards Crash's control. With this, Comets now have pretty good step position on the school proper itself, but T8 fighting along the hillside right over next to Old Times, finds himself with a little bit of an angle at the exact same time. No Caps trying to make their move. Old Times in a lot of trouble. 2 members already down, about to go out. It's just a matter of on how T8 wants to play this. Circle has popped, and it's just on the other side of the hill.
Yeah, it's going to be so rough for all of these teams here as every team kind of crushed to play very limited cover as Burger's going to be able to take down 97. Old Time starting to make a push. They still have 2 players left standing over on this ridge, and it looks like Execs wants to start pinching out here. Try to get an angle. Burger's going to be going for the heel. Is at 97 going down. T8 are going to be third party and onto this, taking down 2 from Old Times, but the flash coming out from Burgers. Trying to get an angle on towards it. Execs from the side takes him down as now Beamy, the final player left up, trying to do some damage, but it's actually Steezy from above the hill for T8 that gets the third party. 1 player left up here for Old Times. It's Selfish. He was on 1 HP, but Beamy just isn't quite able to land on towards it now as he goes for the heal. Detonator going to be popping up over the top. Not quite got the angle, but I mean, Selfish is aware these players are making a push. Detonator takes him out, and down go Old Times in 5th. But I mean, down towards school, we're going to see a similar thing to what we saw in Rush just there, where the circle shifts away. Teams are going to be forced into choke points such as the walls that they're going to have to try and fight for here. So we're definitely going to see things start to kick off as the smokes are the only thing really stopping these teams from fighting right now.
There is a smidgen of this wall that's going to be inside the next circle. T8 finally coming up back over towards the north, getting control back over that entire territory, is going to find themselves as the only team capable of moving into the circle safely, and going to have an angle on everybody trying to leave this position. Crash still 4-man up, starting to make a play around the outside of this. You can see Comets trying to use the inner wall, see if maybe they can get a little bit of an angle to work with, trying to use it back over towards this, but it's going to be Michael, who is playing up against the wall of the school for so long. Gets a nice connected shot back over towards Yaxley. A little bit of vision is going to get back over for Highcommand. Try to find the angle, does manage to connect on that, so gets a knock onto him. But Comets not finding themselves with a lot of angles to play, instead opt into just going for a spray down, see if maybe they can get the kills. Crash using this opportunity is making a play back over towards the south, back over towards the hills, and have managed to get away from the school. It's just Comets and Veritas getting vision back over towards each other, and every single throwable that they've got in their inventory is starting to be tossed out.
This has worked out so well for Crash. They've been able to disengage. Keenan hopping in the vehicle, but it's actually going to be King from range that connects with the SLR headshot on towards him. Steezy going down as well, as Crash just taking a fight on all fronts. Gazera going down to Hickman, so the trade will come out. Comet's going to be playing this side wall as Veritas going for the res on towards their teammate. Detonator goes down for T8 as Crash now. They got so opportunistic as they heard this fight kicking off between Veritas and Comets. D-Treats takes down 1 and a second. He's going for the heal, but it's not going to be enough just yet as the flush is coming out from a Crash, taking down Hickman and him, and that leaves Monty and D-Treats in a 1v1 now, forced to play the edge of this wall, but he's out inside the blue. He's going to be taking a lot of damage. Doesn't matter because King with the headshot is now the final player left up. It's going to be Comets. Monty making a last stand, but I mean, a Crash, they have such a perfect angle on towards this. A nice pinch going on. Nades landing down. Monty takes down 1, but I mean, he's just tanking so much damage. It's not going to last too long as a Crash picking up the first chicken dinner of the grand finals with 11 kills and some absolutely huge damage.
Crash, phenomenal play coming through that one. They had an easy path back over coming from the apartments where all these little small skirmishes were happening, and really Veritas managed to distract Comets for so long, and they just played that outer wall. They had nobody back behind them and looked for the opportunity. The moment that the fight started to break off inside a school, they wanted nothing to do with it. If somebody looked their direction, they'd take the shots, but it was about getting position, moving out, trying to find an angle to control the next stage of the fight, instead of getting caught in the mutual assured destruction that we saw come out between Veritas and Comets on the other side of it. There was just nowhere for them to go after that fight finished off.
Yeah, very, very impressive indeed. But I also want to give a shout out to Michael there. He played that so well. super sneaky inside school, didn't overextend. As soon as Comet started engaging on towards his teammates for Veritas, he wasn't afraid to open up, got an opening knock, and that might have just been the saving grace there for Veritas, having a player on the backside that just, even if it's only one knock and then you go down, it throws a spanner in the works for Comets. It catches them off guard, and it worked out really well. And Veritas, you know, they didn't get the win. They got a third place out of it and some decent kills as well. So very, very impressive.
With this, guys, we've got to go ahead and get everything set up for the next round. So we're going to take a very quick little break here. Let everybody get back into the lobby. Let us go ahead and grab a drink. We will see you in just a second.
An absolutely huge game number one there, coming out as a Crash picking up our first chicken dinner of the evening with some serious kill points as well. But quickly, before we hop into the leaderboards and see how all the other teams stacked up, I do want to thank our awesome sponsors. First of all, Stints Built, an awesome custom PC manufacturer. If you guys are in the market for a new computer, make sure you go and check out Stints Built. They have an awesome range of 303 products right now, keyboards and mouse pads, and there was something else, but I've forgotten exactly what. Make sure you go and check them out. And on the topic of Stints Built, I do want to mention that the top fragger from each night of the grand finals, so that's tonight, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday next week, they're each going to get a little bit of custom 303 swag provided by Stints. So huge shout out to them, and not to forget our awesome partners over at Fred Hutch as well, an amazing cancer research foundation doing big things, also working, you know, on the COVID issue, helping, you know, work on vaccines, things like that. So absolutely awesome organizations there. But real quick, Matrim, let's hop over to the leaderboards and see how things are stacking up right now. As after game number 1, a Crash with 21 overall points, a very big win from them. We listened in on the team comms. They definitely had a really rough time to be able to make it actually into the zone from apartments when that circle shift away, but I think they executed it perfectly, maximizing that utility to be able to get into zone there.
Well, also following this up, you can see it's going to be Old Times walking away with 10 kills. We didn't get to see a lot of it, but remember, it was that hillside on the southern sections of Rajat. No cap as well. Early performance really catapulting them into walking away with a ton of kills. Not the highest placement, but whenever you're walking away with 10 kills between Old Times and No Cap, placement points aren't that big of a deal. Managing to walk away with a total of 13 and 12 apiece. TAC8 do manage to get themselves a nice bit of positioning there towards the end, but it was just survival as they just got run up on by several different teams holding different angles. Comets holding down good positioning as well, get themselves a nice spot. And really Veritas, while they were playing that northern wall, no big real rush for them to have to move, but didn't walk away with a lot of kills to work with either.
Yeah, that northern wall, it's a strong position when you have a zone like that, because you have got priority into the next circle. The only issue, however, comes from the fact it is not easy to fight off. And when you have teams like T8, Old Times, and No Cap all on that hill up to the north, you are just not really able to peek up. You have to use those vehicles for every bit of cover. And I mentioned this at the end of last game. Shout out to Michael for just kind of playing it slow until his team got attacked, you know, was able to third party and was able to, you know, potentially help Veritas survive a little longer than they would have done. But unfortunately, you know, when you have to make that cross out into the open from school, it is near on impossible. And I mean, an important thing to remember as well is when we look at the leaderboards after game number 1, a lot of people are like, well, this team had a terrible performance. It's one game. It all comes down to point average at the end of the day. So, you know, even teams like Fury and Illusion, which we know are strong squads, even though they've not picked up any points yet, you know, we've still got plenty of games to go. And I am certain that we'll see a shuffle up in the leaderboards in game number 2.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's game 1. Guys, there's 4 days. If you're just like, if you're already talking trash, you might want to buckle up at this point. Just kind of wait this one through. But we also want to take a quick glance back over towards the total kills coming out so far. Look back over towards it. Shouldn't be too big of a surprise as it's going to be No Cap's Flammy with that phenomenal set of grenades back over towards Slappers to go ahead and set him up with 5 kills. Then a 3-way time following up back behind that was we got Gazera, we got Il following back up that, and Selfish as well. 2 members from Old Times stacking it up for their teams.
Latam absolutely dominating the top 5 in terms of kills right now. I have to say, really good pushes coming out from a Crash at the kind of push off towards school from apartments. But I mean, Old Times as well up on that Rozhok hill. You are forced to fight any team that was in Rozhok, especially when we talk about this all the time where, you know, teams will send it in cities, and if that zone pushes away, you see kind of a crush on the edge of the city where players are just scrambling for a wall. And I think Old Times really executed that perfectly, being able to fight their way in and, you know, not able to clean up every player. They were able to do some serious damage though. But ladies and gentlemen, it is time for game number 2 of the evening. Let's hop back into a wrangle, and we have a pretty balanced playing path, so hopefully not going to see anything too spicy like we saw in the group stages.
Never ever trust these straight plane paths. They always seem to go awry. Sure, we're going to start up over Lippo and our way back to the hospital, but I think it'll probably be gas cans where they like to go back down towards military base, the only team that's really going to have to stretch a long ways. Sometimes this is where you get the wild coming into play. Do note the fact that we are also going to have the river right in the middle of the plane path as well. That can also make a ton of problems for these teams.
Yeah, and I think gas cans, even though they are a melee team, I believe that they may have a Zaki ult drop here, so it isn't going to be as bad. But I mean, you know, when you have these really central planes, if you decide to go hard up to the north or hard down to the south, it can cause issue, because for anyone who isn't aware, when it comes to competitive, that circle 1 does have to be touching the plane path at least 1 point. So it will mean that if it does end up being a central circle, which is likely what a lot of people are expecting to see, then gas cans, no matter where they land, are going to have a bit of a rough rotate. But I think it's important right now. Pachinki, we saw the hot drop come out last game, It's happening again between Akresh and Slappers now. Akresh, considering they had, you know, a very hot drop in the beginning of the game, they didn't engage onto it. Both teams decided to back off out of it. The question is now, are these teams going to start, you know, sweating a little bit, thinking, all right, we got to get these guys out of our city so that we have it for the rest of the event?
Told you, never, ever trust a center plane path. It's always going to throw you. Illusion in a phenomenal position. Do note, way back in the early days of PUBG, Pachinki used to be a split drop for a long time. It can support multiple teams based off of this. So if you notice, the drops are very similar to what we saw last time. Slappers kind of holding back over towards the south, Crush towards the north. We're going to see vehicles going to be able to pop off on both sides of it. And unless, again, we see an early not come into play, somebody find that angle, these teams are going to be very aware of their territory that they're going to hold down. I wouldn't expect any form of very strong aggression. Akresh may want to try to play the numbers just a little bit since they're walking away from a nice point total inside the last round, but I don't think that they're really going to want to play it too hard. I mean, you're already sitting up at the top of the leaderboard, don't want to risk losing anybody early. So with this, you can kind of see the quadrants, the neighborhoods with the surrounded walls. Those are kind of be where everybody's going to drop at and kind of hold down positioning for now.
Yeah, I do have to say, though, Akresh, in terms of, like, getting out of here, might have a bit of a rough time because Slappers, they have a vehicle right where they drop. There's an esports spawn there. They don't have to worry too much. Akresh, not so much. They do have to kind of open up to be able to get something. But, I mean, over at Milter as well, we also see yet another hot drop coming out between Enigma and Synergy, as these teams just both going to be playing very slow. But I like what Enigma have going on here. They have two players hard up to the north that are going to try and get an angle. But let's not forget that Danny down to the south is also wrapping over towards this. Beams is holding back over on the east to try to watch for players making a cross, but I'm not sure whether he's going to even be able to spot out Danny, even if he tried to peek out from this position.
The real question comes into play is really what is Enigma working with? You can see they're running around UMPs, AKs. While they can get the kills, it's going to be from a little bit of a disadvantaged positioning as far as loot goes. Trying to find the angle to work around. Fisher's already going to get the shot back over towards Ripper and take him down. So now it means only 3 members up for Enigma from this point. So with Enigma trying to make the play back over towards the left point, I think that they're going to leave this one alone. Kind of leave this one in play. Danny does have an angle back over towards Beams, but doesn't want to play it just quite yet.
Yeah, Ripper going to be bleeding out here, so not the best start if you're Enigma. And let's not forget Beams now. Enigma's game right now if Beams does decide to peek up a little bit too much and do some damage. But I mean, Danny just playing slow for the time being, not wanting to overextend, and a very smart play indeed coming out from Enigma after they've lost one player. Senpai going to be opening up with just ready for this, holding on to it.
Looks like Discord's giving us a little bit of troubles here, so if we're cutting in and out, just going to go ahead and let everybody know as we're making the listen in back and forth. You're going to hear a little bit of robot maybe here and there, but positioning still going to be king right now coming up from Fisher. Repositions coming out on the other side of his Beams trying to get into a little bit closer position back over next to JR. Hello Senpai still holding down the angle for it, but do you notice that Pippa is making a long rotate back around to regroup with the rest of his team? Based off the fact that this is not inside of circle, I don't know if either one of these teams want to commit to this too hard.
Yeah, we do see Veritas up on the north. They're going to be rotating through over towards T8 now. Not really going to have too many issues, but I mean, when you have these style of circles, it is one of those questions of who is going to be that team that gets super aggressive on towards it. As now, over in Milter, we do see Synergy. They're grouping up, but Slappers actually going for an interesting rotate here, down towards the south, straight in towards Young King's position. So this is an interesting rotate coming out from Slappers right here.
Find an angle for it. Young King's trying to get the connecting angle. Does get enough to get one of them down. It's going to be Drassel that gets left behind and falls towards his death with a little bit of airtime being found on the other side of it. Slappers goes, hey, wait a minute. There was only one person shooting us. And now LFP finding himself in a little bit of trouble trying to make a quick run back over towards this. Get away from the scene of the crime. See if maybe nobody's going to be able to catch him out. His Slappers are going to take this a little bit slower. And he should find himself with an angle to play from to get away from this. The only problem with it is Young Kings are going to have to come over and pick him up, and reinforcements are coming in mass, as there are 3 members making a roll right over to position. Question comes into play. Young Kings, do you want to fight this, or you just want to pick up your teammate and go? As Slapper still trying to get the rest of the control over to this. Might not even have vision on it, but I don't know, Young Kings. I don't think that you want to commit to this too hard. Just find the high ground angle, protect your teammate, get the pickup, let the Uber come in, pick him up, give him the 5 stars, and get out.
Yeah, but it looks like Higuain trying to get eyes on towards this, maybe realizing now that slappers aren't going to be opening up. I mean, the issue is, though, if you send a player over to pick up LFP, oh no, this could be bad now. Sophia, he's going to be flexing out. Higuain, he's got himself the M24. Is he going to take the shot? He's holding the trigger discipline, but it lands. Down goes Sophia. He will most likely going to be getting flushed out now as well, but the shots, they get returned by Mimo, so slappers getting a player knocked, and the second shot lands on towards Memo now as he's going to be forced to back off. Sophia not getting flushed out just yet as Hambino throwing down a smoke, but he gets caught as well with the bolt. This is huge here. Andy all the way over on the west making a rotate as well, but LFP, he used this position over on the hay bales so smartly. He played it slow, and now the nades are coming down, trying to land over towards Sophia. The headshot on towards Memo. Hambino, the final player left up, trying to stick the reds on towards Sophia, but I mean, KF9 just moving in with the Molotov, spamming through the smoke. I mean, Young Kings are not going to let off of this now.
They have too much control for this fight. Both angles of escape cut off, close range, really stepping up into their face, 2 members, and you can see Slappers know that they're in trouble. Already trying to move away from potential Molotov locations, get on those high ground positionings. KF9 looking back over, has an idea on what's going on. I don't know if that grenade is going to connect just quite yet. The question comes into play is how long are Young Kings going to commit to this? They know if they try to make the run back over towards it, it's going to be a little bit problematic for them. They don't want to risk losing a member. Going to be nice shots coming out from that high ground position. Hambino does find the angle to work with, but doesn't get the down back over towards it. Molotov going to connect, though. That's going to finish that one off. Sophia's trying to hold the line back over. Nowhere to go. Too many members of Young Kings coming up, and Hambino trying to make the play. Grenade's going to land. Not going to quite connect off of that one. Just get a little bit of tickle damage.
An unfortunate fight there for Slappers, and I'm genuinely intrigued on how they decided to rotate down there. They're coming from Pachinki, but it doesn't work out. Young King's going to be happy with this. Really smart of them to quickly group up as soon as they saw a player had, you know, been kind of pinned down in that compound. Dodge now starting to make a rotate through. No Cap taking a lot of big shots here, but I mean, No Cap, they have a position, but is it going to be the strongest position? If this circle shifts up north, which is something that we've seen happen a lot, they are going to be, you know, not looking the strongest, as Adit taking a lot of big shots. Danny G pulling up, and Old Times up over on these ridges are going to hear these vehicles pulling up directly below them, and this could be Old Times' opportunity to pick up even more kills after last game, as 97 goes for the spray. Selfish gets the knock on towards Danny G, and Old Times, they have 2 players over to east as well. This could be huge for them. 97 with the headshot on towards Finna, tries to land it. Can he finish the job with the minis? Looking close, but nothing just yet. But oh no, Dodge, they're rotating further and further to the east. More Old Time players over in this compound. Later pinned down at the top of the hill. Down he goes to Execs, and Old Times now, they are just punishing on towards Dodge.
I cannot believe Finna got out of that. Hit a rock cropping, was stuck there, reversed, ran down the hillside, and managed to get away with it. Dodge loses 2, but let's be real, that could have been way, way worse. Back over towards the north, Severny is a mess. Gas cans rolling by, and it is a joust. Oldest jumps out, leaves his vehicle in the water, and says, that's all right, I'll just chase down the other ones. Connects for another shot to get a second down, looking back over towards it. His nose, there's another gauntlet running towards it, trying to get the position. Goes down into the water, trying to dodge this one out, and is going to use the car for cover in the water while people are trying to feed information. What is this chaos? Nikos even comes over and says, hey, I want to be a part of the party too.
The worst thing is he somehow survived it by playing underneath the water. I mean, Hickerman wasn't able to hold that position because the rest of gas cans with the third party were trying to shoot him out the vehicle. Hickerman's been forced to back off now. I have no idea how the hell Oldler's just survived that, but he just pulled it off. Gas cans now, they have to start making a rotate, but they are going to be happy with that. They took a lot of damage, but they picked up 2 kills, and gas can just stepping on the gas, rolling through here, and it looks like they potentially want to push in towards Hickerman and try and get yet another kill, as they know this player's solo and low.
Oh, just take the long range shots, see if you can get some peppering in damage. They know that they're going to have to take a pretty wide rotate, try to hit that road, the bridge that's over towards the west of Yasnaya, most likely. A lot of teams making a rotation back over towards it as well, so there's going to be the widest one out. Comet's trying to regroup, but you can see it's going to be Yasnaya defensive lines holding as, again, Old Times find themselves in the thick of the action. really doing a good job of defending up and forcing Illusion to try to find a new rotation point. The southern section of Yasnaya is pretty wide out in the open, but there's going to be a secondary section of teams taking a shot back over towards the east, and that's going to be no cap. So it looks like Illusion says, this is the best we can do. Let's hope it's good enough. Stops next to the antenna tower as ATC is cutting a path just to the north of him.
Yeah, ETC, they're making a rotate up to the north. Matthew and Freemy over to the east for Illusions. Now they're going to start rotating through towards Freemy. But Freemy's taking a lot of damage. Marcelic sending it straight in towards it. Freemy with a nice spray will take out Marcelic. He isn't able to finish the job on towards all of them, though, as Light Show makes push in. But Beamy from range connected for no cap. Now 2 players left up here for ATC. As now they start to move in. The seat swap coming out. Top Dog takes down Norkins and Melon as Matthew finishing the job. Illusions somehow making a final stand. 1 player over in this compound, but it doesn't matter as they absolutely clean up there, and now they have themselves some actual hard cover inside the zone.
Back down towards the south, Young Kings trying to hold a defensive position. It's going to be the remnants of Comets rolling right into the wrong neighborhood. Gas cans coming up back behind that. Shots coming through, and it's going to be a quick connection coming out back over towards Monty. He goes down. Just 1 member of the Comets left, trying to roll through the hillside, trying to make sure there's the cover, but there's not going to be anywhere to go. It's a crossfire position, and so now Hikerman, the last one up for his squad, trying to run back out, but the Blue's going to be coming. He's down to 8 life. He can't play this for too long. Gas can's going to go ahead and continue back down towards the south. Here are the gunshots. Going to give it a wide burst. They're not going to join into this party just quite yet. So Hikerman now stops, tries to get his meds back over, but Young King says, hey, we know where you're going to try to play this one, and are already trying to make a little bit of a play to hold him out based off of positioning.
I think we are really seeing right now a prime example of the seat swap meta, as every single player from Comets that has gone down, it has been some form of seat swap, whether it's getting seat swap by another player or you know, trying to seat swap and getting knocked. Every single kill on towards Comets has been that, and I gotta say, it is so much fun to watch. We did see Synergy. They got the knock and the flush on towards Waikik and Mukau, as now Fury only have 2 players left up. They were as a 3-man coming into this game. I'm not sure whether one of the players weren't able to connect, but now only 2 players left strong. An aggressive split coming out. But if this circle shifts, oh no.
Ha 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 ha!
Right as I'm about to say,
that's all I'm going to say.
Right as I'm about to say, if it shifts up north, thinking, oh, there's no way that can happen. Of course it shifts up to the north. And all these teams that kind of banked in towards these southern areas now, south of Yaz, even in towards Yaz, now going to have to rethink. And I mean, Illusion here, after you know, fighting for a compound. Oh, King. Oh, that's unfortunate. He does survive, though. But Veritas, they rotate through as King catches a little bit of damage. Jazza going for the spray. Surely not. He connects with 1. Can't quite finish the job. King going to be pulling up over towards these blue buildings now. Michael with the barrel spray gets taken down by Shen. And I mean, flushed out very quickly. Dietrich tries to go for the beat. Connects. Nade coming out on towards it, as now he just has to try and back off. But it's Keenan with the mini that takes down Shen. And 3 players up here for Veritas. It looks like they want to try and take this position on towards Kretsch. Jazz are going to be kind of opening up on towards it. He does have a nice angle, but I mean, the sight lines from this building are just so limited here for Veritas to work with.
Well, while this is going on, long rotations going back over towards the east as well. As you can see, No Cap's kind of separated out. Jazz is the only one with a real good aggression point back over towards Crash, so I wouldn't be surprised if he plays this a little bit more quiet. Enigma trying to find an angle, but Hikerman, what are you going to do? You're all by your lonesome, down to a 3rd life, trying to get a shot back over towards him, not going to connect, but right as soon as you press the top of this hill, it's going to be bad! And Comets get eliminated in 14th. Now we're going to see a little bit more of a press back over towards the east as Gascan's finally making the ending touches to their rotation. Could be rolling right up into No Cap and the remnants of Dodge's rotation. So back over towards the east, a little bit more problematic. Jazz decided that he was going to get a little bit more violent. You can see Crash suffering from the consequences of his actions as the rest of Veritas are now in the process of trying to regroup and finally spots out the down member.
Yeah, King tried to make a push up towards Jazz's compound. He gets the opening knock. This is going to allow Veritas to start opening up and grouping up now. As T8 taking big shots over towards Gazira in the vehicle, it's going to be D-Treats that finishes it off. So 3 kills now for Veritas, taking down Kresh in 13th, but Gas Cans, they start to open up on towards No Cap as now the drive kill, the run over coming out, but it's not going to be enough as Fury and No Cap working together to just dismantle Gas Cans and take them out in 12.
Fury has a nice strong position along the hillside. They've got Illusion up on top of them to provide a little bit more defense from that angle as well. Dodge kind of limping their way inside the safe zone as well as Enigma, but I love Stolber hillside fights. There's so much verticality, so many like hidden little angles, and there's these specific paths that you have to take if you want to try to take the fights and get into close range. So really, it's just kind of a staggered positioning. With the way that the look's coming through, you can see Young Kings trying to make their push across the side of this, but Just Too Easy really does have it quite easy right now, as they can just look down and take shots every single time Young King's trying to move. Let's make it a little bit more chaotic. Shift back over towards Fury and Illusion's position. And now Old Times, the last members that are going to have any form of Yasnaya inside the safe zone.
Yep, I mean, Just Too Easy here up on this northern side. They should be able to clean this off. They have a good idea where Young Kings are. Kodak Kid and Low Key just opening up, taking Andy down to low HP. This is going to give Just Too Easy an opportunity to start rotating in, but instead deciding to send Ribbo and Songxing a little bit further south, knowing that TA are going to be rotating in towards this position. We do see Synergy here. They tried to make the rotate, but Selfish connected with a nice barrel headshot on towards Fisher. And now, I mean, Pippa, he's going to be forced to play this building. The rest of Synergy working in. Smokes are down for the res, but realistically, is it going to be the smart play here to try and res your teammate with Old Times just raining down fire? Selfish getting caught with a nice little one tap from Pippa, but it isn't enough to really get the knock or slow things down too much here.
So while this is going on, you can see Veritas back over towards the west on the mini map, trying to make a position. Going to go ahead and get right over next to that crate, as well as right on the edge. Nigma's trying to creep up back behind that. No easy vision just quite yet because of this hillside. Veritas's D-Treat's probably the first one that's going to be spotted out. I think he might have an idea of something going on, but he's going to walk over at the wrong time. First couple of shots from Beams don't quite connect, and D-Treats shuts that down fast. Hello Senpai now has to retreat just a little bit. D-Treat's trying to feed the information back over towards his teammates. Starting to look back over towards that Jazza, who kind of fought and got control over this complex. Looking back over, looks like he's going to be the reinforcements. Hello Senpai creeping back along this angle. You can see nobody from Veritas wanting to peek just quite yet with the shot. Also, SG looking back over towards the angle. D-Treats still continuing to hold the high ground, just utterly destroying Enigma as they're trying to make their approach.
He just took JR down to 1 HP with the headshot, as Jazza now just going to be cleaning up the knocks. They're going to try and get an angle on towards JR. He has been able to pop the first aid. Synergy are going to be looking to try and get an angle on towards the third party here. D-Treats takes one down, but Songxing from up to the north for Just Too Easy gets the knock on towards D-Treats. JR going to be going down to Veritas now as they pick up their 6th kill of the game. And Just Too Easy, we spoke about them earlier, now just starting to flex out big time on towards this Insight, getting a knock on towards Wiam, and now T8 in a bit of a rough position in terms of, you know, playing between 2-3 very strong teams right now.
So up at the top of the hillside, we've got Illusion that's got a lot of control. It's going to be T8 that's got a little bit of a dip that they're playing inside of, while Fury is trying to make a push along the side of it. No Cap on the other side, Just Too Easy does have control back over towards the north, looking back down towards Steezy, who's down and very separated away from the rest of his team. Veritas now going to finally get their res back over and trying to stay ahead of the blue, going to start making their push back along this hillside as well. And you can see, looking up this hillside, this is going to be a run and gun battle, and it is going to be a bloodbath. If Just Too Easy decides to really hold this angle, they might be able to put in some work. It's going to be Ribbo that's going to have the vision back over towards Jazza first, and doesn't have enough to work with. Now it's going to be Xiong back over towards the top of it, trying to get a couple of shots. Not going to connect back over towards Jazza either. So with this, Keenan's going to be the last member up, but it's all going to be back over towards Yasnaya. You can see there's 3 teams that are going to have to move across a field positioning with not a lot of angles to work with. And so with this, it's just going to be an utter massacre, as whoever does manage to win this still has to make a push back into the hillsides that are already claimed.
I gotta say, out of all the teams over in Yasnaya, I think Old Times are arguably going to be in the strongest position here, just purely down to the vehicles that they have that will make it a little bit easier for them to rotate out. As we do see Dodge here, they've only got 2 players left up. They will spot out 1 here from Old Times, and they're pinched between 2 squads here, so Synergy could do some big damage. Fury actually able to get 2 nice knocks over on towards T8 here, but they do get finished off by Old Times and T8, so they will be going out in 9th position. But Dodge now, they're peeking out, they're opening these doors. Old Times taking the vehicles. This could potentially cause a bit of a distraction here as No Cap start to flex down on the northeast towards this. They do have to worry about those final T8 players before they can really make a push on towards Old Times. As Old Times, they're just going to play any ridge that they're really able to now.
No Cap's going to have the angle on 2 different teams, one rolling into vehicles, and they're also going to have a little bit of vision on what's going on with T8. The reses did come up from T8, but you can see it's just at it, holding the angle. Old Times managed to come up right back behind them, going to find themselves a defensive position. SG did also leave Yasnaya and have themselves a little bit of an angle to play, but T8 just hoping maybe some type of grenade's going to connect. Going to go ahead and do a low toss to make sure nobody's playing the hillside just to the north of their positioning. With all the distraction that's coming through, Old Times has now looked back down towards Dodge, towards SG. They're starting to try to make their position out of this. There's not a lot of good that can happen towards it. Meanwhile, back over towards the west, a little bit of a fight also happening between Just Too Easy and Veritas, but that one's probably going to stay at range.
Yeah, I mean, for the time being, neither of these teams, you know, really want to crest over. Just Too Easy have the high ground. Veritas not so much. Similar to what we're seeing over with this T8 no cap fight, as now the nades could potentially open something up here. And
Good
it goes
throw.
down with a really nice underhand, but T8, they can't get over aggressive here. Old Times are behind, and if they hear the shots opening up between T8 and no cap, they will start to third party, but it is actually going to be Top Dog from Illusion that connects from the north, takes down Loop now. As I mean, T8, they have to start making a push over on towards Old Times, and it looks like 97 going to be the one getting aggressive for Old Times now.
Well, T8 does have that little bit of a hill that they can hold and try to harass back down over towards it. Zealot has the angle to work with. Good flashbang going to land right back behind him. Going to go ahead and step around the outside of it. Finally does manage to get the down over towards it. Good reposition, using cover point to cover point, trying to bounce through, but has to be very careful. William has gone down back behind them. Now starting to step a little bit back behind this. Illusion did step out of their complex and is starting to get a little bit more control back over towards the hillside. So with this, only really Old Times in a position inside the circle. So now we can see Illusion starting to look back through. Just Too Easy, already starting to make a little bit of a reposition. And good old Lamp-A-Lot somehow staying alive for Dodge back down towards the south. But he has got to be as sneaky can be to try to reposition through all of these teams. SG did a ton of work back over towards Dodge, and everything has gone quiet, as all these different teams are trying to position out and afraid of stragglers hiding behind trees, under rocks, and in different positions. So instead, now everybody's just trying to make sure that they have the vision game and the information, waiting to see if they can find an angle. And finally, it's going to be Illusion from that high ground. Everybody knows where these guys are at, so in no rush to take any shots. So now they can know that they can make any play that they want to. The problem is going to be trying to get out of this high ground position with a ton of teams that have the angle to work with.
Yep, so let's see how Illusion end up tackling this. 5 kills already. Let's take a quick listen in to the live comms.
There's a guy on my southeast ridge, Mark.
Car rotating to my Car's rotating to just went under yellow.
That's just going for their players right now. You guys need to make the play together here.
Yeah, but I have to work down.
Heading to US. Heading to US again.
2 knock.
One pulled up above me. One pulled up above me on yellow.
Looking. I can get an angle on that.
I see the smokes.
It's the 3 up, right? The last guy's on me, then on yellow.
I got Mike flush.
I see his UAZ, I don't see him.
He's closer, 265. He's closer, 265. Orange or mark.
I'm gonna watch over me, please. Watch over me.
Yeah.
Top Dog is one far as well. One far west end zone. Like around green.
Far.
I see
My kill
Veritas.
got stolen.
You get a shot from west.
No shots.
Veritas is edge of zone west.
That's it. It's us for Veritas now.
Insta. Can I play straight down?
Yeah, we have to be careful. We have to kill Veritas. Veritas has that bull.
Veritas is wrapping southwest right now.
We probably just need to kill yellow. We probably just need to pinch yellow. Like, we don't need to worry about Veritas. Just don't get knocked down. We can play. Matthew, just play. Be careful. Yeah. Just play carefully.
I'm just holding. It should be a solo.
One up on old. You heard? One up on old.
Heard.
There's one ratting Veritas right now.
Tech A2.
Do we have numbers on Veritas?
No. D-Treat's in Kingdom for sure.
It should be 4 up then on Veritas. So we don't have numbers on that.
So
4, 3, 7, 2. You have
As a nice play coming out here from Illusion. They do manage to make it down the hill, but it's not too easy for them, as they will be able to take out Just Too Easy. They have identified Veritas over on the west, but it is going to be Synergy that start to open up towards them on the southern side. Now, Veritas is taking a lot of pop shots over towards Top Dog, trying his best to connect, but, I mean, Synergy, they have a bit of a rough position to get out of this now.
So the positionings are going to be the key factors inside of this. T8 still has a good defensive line that they've been holding for a while. Now it's just going to be on the Synergy to make as quick as a move as possible, but it's going to be through the open. So with this, instead, they're playing a little bit of the hillside. They're going to use it for cover as long as possible. And it looks like they're just going to send it back over towards T8's positioning. They know that the other teams are too strong based off of numbers. It's going to be about Zealot trying to hold the line up. He can have the high ground position, but he has to defend it. There's too many targets. Liam can't figure out where to go. Gets the spray back over towards one. Gets the second one. Solid defense coming up. And finally, Pippa comes up on the other angle. Zealot knows that he needs to make the play back over. Does spot up headshot, but it's not going to be enough. That is a good play coming out from Synergy to get control back over towards the east. But guess what? Illusion heard the whole thing and is now starting to make a push of their own back over towards the angle. But Synergy reads it yet again, taking down Top Dog. Now Matthew playing from rock to rock, trying to make the angle back over towards it. This gives an open pass for Veritas to make their way inside the zone.
This is huge here, how Synergy managed to survive that huge knocks coming out from T8, but they just weren't enough as Fisher going to be going down to the nade. Freemy starting to get more and more aggressive. Veritas with the third party. Keenan takes down Pipras now. It's Illusion versus Veritas in a 2v3. Veritas with 13 kills already. Keenan with 7 of those just on his own. This is huge here for both of these teams now. As Illusion, they have themselves the high ground, but the player disadvantage, this could end up being a big factor coming into this, especially if Illusion have to make a cross down on towards this, as mini shots landing down from Keenan. Nice headshot on towards Matthew there.
Veritas has to use this opportunity to move. They can do the math. They know that they have the numbers advantage, but positioning is very rough. The circle could come back over towards them in the next 20 seconds, but they need to at least get somebody a little bit closer based off of positioning. Every single time they get a knock, they're just kind of waiting it out. So with this, Illusion has the high ground, and if they get circle control, look at the field of vision they have to play with. Veritas has nowhere to go. And now with all of the time in the world, Illusion has managed to get back up strong. Sure, their armor and their helmets aren't doing the best, but they have the vision to play with right now. If they can hit the shots back over towards Veritas, Veritas is in a lot of trouble, as the circle did pop, does favor back over towards Illusion's positioning. And so now it's going to be all into Veritas to find some type of angle to work with, and they need to get the damage off onto this. You can see Keenan trying to open the doors up for his team, at least forces somebody away, but notice the reposition from Matthew. That's the way you want to play this. Draw the attention somewhere else. Now Keenan has to beat in over here, and Matthew can find a new angle to play from. But Jazza, using the distraction, slowly creeps back in. Not yet inside the circle just quite yet, but only a few feet away.
Yeah, this could be big here. Jazza could play spoiler, but D-Treats, he starts to make a cross as Freemy going to be taking some big shots over towards him. D-Treats pinned down now. Keenan returning the fire, but Jazza from the side angle will have eyes on towards Matthew. It's down to a 2v2. The question is Matthew aware that this is going to be happening now, as he thinks he has all of the info on towards Veritas? No, he doesn't. Jazza just sneaking his way up this hill. Doesn't want to give too much away now. We hear him slow walking, not going to give away any audio cues. Kill. He gets the knock on towards Matthew. Freemy in a 1v2. He knows where Jazz is going to be. Veritas could potentially pick up a 15 kill chicken dinner here. Nice pre-fire coming out from Jazz. It can't quite land, and now he's just going to play this car. Spots Freemy popping up, but can't connect with the shots as more and more utility starting to land. Freemy with a nice nade. It's not going to be enough, as now Keenan getting aggressive on towards this. And Freemy, he has himself some rocks to play. He has some cover. He can single out these fights, take them as 2 separate 1v1s, but if Veritas are able to communicate well enough, they might just be able to finish up the job here as Freemy gets ready to peek over.
Circle control definitely favors back over towards Veritas' position, so Freemy knows that he's going to have to be the active component inside of this. Throws the Molotov back over towards one angle, trying to make sure that he uses those rocks to block out any vision that Keenan can have on what's going on. You can see Keenan knows he just has to control this. All pressure comes from Jazz's positioning. Jazz is already right underneath Freemy Please's positioning, so now the decision-making process all falls onto Freemy Please. Do you go for the play? Do you try to find the angle to work with? Do you try to go for the knock, or do you just feed your death back over towards the blue? Deny a point for Veritas. Keenan, he knows has the angle to work with, but can maybe he jump down, get a shot back over towards Jazza, maybe flush him out, picking up another point of his own. There is the possibility, but there's so limited options for him to work with. Underhand toss is going to start coming out, seeing if maybe they connect with Jazz to buy what he so desperately needs to turn this into a 1v1. Long range toss goes back over towards Keenan's position. Maybe it'll be enough of a distraction, as now the smokes are starting to come out. He knows the fact that he's going to have to make the play. Does he have the read for Jazz's positioning? Looks like he knows. It's back under right on this lip. Does he manage to get anything out of it? all the utility that this man has is being tossed out, and it's not connecting back over towards Keenan, but he does at least manage to get a little bit of vision. It's going to be time to make the play. Looks back down towards Jazza. Going to take a couple of shots from Keenan. Goes for the jump. Tries to get it, but no, it's going to be a good defensive hold. Coming up for Veritas.
He denies the point. He denies the point, though. He went down to full damage. Veritas just got denied the point from that because they just took too many shots before he fell. Huge shot. As much as I would have loved to see him get the hit fire spray on towards Jazza, you know, super impressive game coming out there. Very well played from Veritas to pick up that chicken dinner. And I love that position that Jazza played, playing underneath, playing so passively. Even if towards the end he gave away his position by making some footsteps, to be able to get to that position in the first place is just huge.
Just good overall play coming out from both sides of that. Trying to play the angles up and around. You can see Veritas understanding the fact, limiting other position, and it's going to be good performance coming out from Jazz. That sneaky play off to the side and the distraction that Keenan was capable of bringing so that way Jazz could get into that position is so phenomenal. And that's the way you want to try to play those close range fights. Or I would say these low player count fights. You want to be distractions. You want to lure. You want to essentially kind of bring all the attention your way so that way somebody can try to make a play on the other side of it, and just textbook accomplishment coming out from Veritas.
Yep, and after a huge chicken dinner there, we do have the one and only Keenan in for an interview. And Keenan, I mean, the end game there, huge play coming out from Jazza. Like, what was the logic there? How did you think, wait, all right, we just need to cause a distraction, get Jazza in underneath, and then just play it slow? Was that kind of the thought process there?
Yeah. Going into that zone, we were very far west, and then we did like a big foot rotate south, and we just wrapped behind another team as they were fighting. And then once I think it was SG died, we realized it was a 3v2. And my spot was okay, but like I wasn't really in zone and able to do anything. I was kind of just pinned down, so I just asked Dietrich and Jazza both to try to like get angles to try to win us the game. And Dietrich got caught out, but while they were focusing on Dietrich, Jazza got up there, and he made a nice play to rat out one. And then at that point, while Jazza had been distracting the top guy, I moved into center zone. So then I just told Jazza just like I literally said just AFK, like just sit there and wait, and I'll be your eyes for you.
So help us understand. Whenever as you said, you sent both of them out and said, okay, try to find an angle.
Yeah.
How do you play that center point? You know, the one that's trying to draw the attention. Like, what are a couple of tricks that you've kind of found that, I know you don't have to give away everything, but something that somebody that's watching can go, okay, if I need to play this, this is the mindset that I need on how to play that.
So I was pretty much on a tree that was out of zone. So it was actually kind of easy for me because I had headshot one. So I was assuming that the other team had called out, hey, there's a guy on this tree. And then they're going to look at the map and they're going to say, hey, that guy's not in zone anymore, right? So there's only two of them. At least one of them is going to be looking at that tree most likely. So half their attention is going to be stuck on me while I'm just doing nothing on a tree. So I just kind of like jiggle around, just try to distract them as much as I can, give them something to shoot at while the other guys try to get angles. And yeah, it's basically just like a numbers game in terms. We had more people than they could watch at one time.
So what's the percentage to jiggle versus shooting back at them? Give me a rough estimate there.
I mean, I'm not really like if one of them hard challenges me and if I can grab a knockaway, great, because then we'll win the game anyways because we all get to push for free. But I'm not really even looking to trade damage. Like I don't want to fill up the stat sheet there. I'm literally just looking to be something that they can be distracted with. So if you want to like show an arm off the side of the tree, maybe let them shoot your toe or something, anything that you can do so that the two guys who need to get angles to win the game, like basically at that point, I'm like the sacrifice. If I die, fine, but they need to get in a spot where they can have a chance to win the game because they definitely had a better spot than us before we made that play.
Yeah, and I mean, a really impressive play coming out. One thing I do want to note, though, is kind of in the early game, making that rotation kind of south of Yaz. How did that kind of work out for you guys? Because, I mean, it looked like it was going to be like a southern Yaz circle. We weren't going to have to worry too much. And then we got a huge hard shift. How did you guys actually adapt to that real hard shift up north? And most importantly, how the hell did you guys survive it?
It was actually pretty crazy. The circles that game were wild. Circle 1, we had a nice north split, and then that Circle 2 came back. It was kind of like you have the big land mass of water in the middle, and then like majority of the zone was to the south of that. So yeah, just like you were saying, we were thinking, oh, it's going to be a Yaz ending or like a field ending. So we had like a really good split set up for that, and then it goes north again, which we had previously been ready for. We kind of got in a little bit of a drive-by vehicle fight with Krex. Thankfully for us, they got third partied a bit, and we ended up winning that. And then we kind of just played for kills out of the city and took what came in front of us. And a lot of people, at one point, I just see a team north of me. I think it was TAC 8, like all just drive-buying people, kind of the new meta. So then we used that fighting to just push up and gain some ground where they were distracting everybody for us.
Oh yeah, the sheer number of drive-bys we saw that game was absolutely insane. I genuinely, I think that Comets lost every single one of their players in a drive-by. So I mean, it just shows this new drive-by meta. As much as players like hate it and complain about it, I love watching it because I mean some of the clips you get out of it are just like insane. But I mean, Keenan, thank you so much for joining us. An awesome interview. It means a lot, you taking the time out. But before we hop into game number 3, I'm sure you want to take a break to talk to your team. But ladies and gentlemen, before we go to that break, I just want to thank our sponsors. Once again, this time we're going to be giving a huge shout out to Lich Energy for regularly supporting 303 Esports. They are an awesome sponsor. Use code 303 for 20% off your order there. And I mean, not forgetting as well the one and only River for providing a bunch of the music that we're using. I think you guys can do !music in chat right now, and you will be able to get yourself the playlist that we're using. Go and check them out. Support River. Awesome artist, producer, everything. If you guys are looking for some copyright music to listen to on stream, definitely check them out. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and then we will be back with the leaderboards and game number 3 of the evening. a huge game number two, coming out there from Veritas as they pick up a really big chicken dinner. Very, very impressive indeed for them. A lot of big kills. We'll see how that affected the leaderboard in a second, but before we get into that, I just want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors. First of all, Stints built an awesome custom PC manufacturer. If you guys are in the market for a new PC, make sure you check out Stints built using the panels below. Stints built also going to be sponsoring our player of the day, and the top fragger at the end of each day is going to be able to pick up some custom 303 swag. Of course, Fred Hutch as well, an awesome COVID and cancer research charity. You should definitely go check those guys out. Click the panel down below if you want to donate to them. It would really mean a lot and help them out a bunch. And as we hop over into the leaderboards, a huge shout out to Twire.gg for, hooking us up with all of this. I mean, these guys, they provide leaderboards for pretty much every event out there. So huge shout out to them. They do so much for the PUBG community. And I mean, looking over at the leaderboard, no surprises here. Veritas, after a huge win and a really good placement in game 1, 30 points overall, taking first place.
I mean, Veritas just played that so well towards the end. There was that moment whenever I was like, they need to be on this, they need to reposition off of this, they're going to get trapped, and they instantly recognized it as well. Nice play coming out from repositions off of that to get themselves a win. TAC 8, though, while not as flashy, has been just consistent on damage and not necessarily getting in towards the very end of the game every single time, but making into the later stages both times. Crush as well, coming off of that solid first round win, holding up right back behind them, tied it up, but Old Time still performing. No cap coming through there, and Illusion as well. Synergy also having themselves a pretty solid last round, picking up some kills of their own.
I will say, though, my biggest concern right now is the teams down near the bottom, A lot of teams without, any really insane points, but 2 games in, still plenty of time to work. But, ladies and gentlemen, let's hop in to game number 3 of the evening, our final Erangel game for the night.
Playing Bath, going back over next to Kamikaze and gonna end back over a little bit south of Ferry Pier towards Military Base Island. So really pretty... I mean, Western teams might find themselves a little bit of a struggle. Don't be surprised if you see Pachinki drop back down again. So that being not the biggest of factors, but the question that I have is Slappers is committing to drop back over into this position, and they tend to be the southern team back over towards Pachinki while Crush plays back over towards the north. Playing Pachinki and getting out of Pachinki has not yet been an issue for Slappers. The Slappers issue seems to come whenever they try to make the move after this, specifically the next rotation or 2. They just keep finding themselves in a very rough fight and just get very quickly dismantled. So it's very odd for me to see them play Pachinki so well and then have struggles in the next stage, which should be the easier position to play.
I think it's one of those things where when you play Pachinki, you have to take a little bit longer to rotate out. You have to be careful. You don't want to overextend and have one of those players from a crash catch you off guard. But I think that is also the reason that they're getting caught out in places like Potato Hill, because teams like Febuary and, all these teams that land over to the west of them are having an opportunity to rotate in towards them. But, I mean, Febuary now, they're going to be the only team over to the west of them. And let's just hope, honestly, that Slappers here don't make the same rotate they made last game all the way down south in towards Young Kings. I have no idea what the idea was there.
Yeah, this is again another standoff that we see happening that's been reoccurring right now. SG will probably just commit to playing the south, letting Enigma have the northern section of it, and that should make this a little bit more quiet. Really, as long as you don't cross the road, you're not going to find yourself with a face full of bullets, so it should be okay. Rotation points away from this should be fairly simple as well, as one will just probably play back over towards the east, maybe make their way back up around Milta Power, or maybe make the run over next to the farm, and Enigma should just cut themselves along the road or just go up towards the north and maybe play Lumberyard. So all in all, kind of quiet based off of where we're going to see going through off of this. The entirety of the circles should be pretty calm. The only potential issues that we're looking at is going to be no cap, and if somebody maybe catches them while maybe making an early rotation, or again, if Slappers, specifically based off of the information, I think is the big problem that they have is they have to focus a lot of their attention on just trying to figure out where a crush is moving, so they're going to focus a lot of their attention on what's happening right next to them. So whenever they made their play back over towards Potato Mountain, suddenly they didn't know exactly where everybody was playing around that location. So I'm curious to see if maybe they're committing some more resources back to outside of Pachinki information gathering, just trying to survey the hillsides and see what's going on around them.
Yeah, I will say it feels to me like Slappers are trying to get more aggressive this game, because in the past it feels like Sophia has looted down to the southeast of Pachinki. Now he's getting super aggressive up to the north, and I think they've realized now, look, we haven't had any big kill games. These guys are all, you know, as well as being like veteran competitive players, some of these guys, they are pub players at heart, you know. They drop Pachinki daily. They hammer this city out. They know it like the back of their hand. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they decide to take a fight here. They know it well enough, and Sophia now going to be opening up. And surprisingly, this is the first time we've seen a fight in Pachinki so far today.
Well, this is kind of a counter move based off of what's happening with Gazera. Gazera played back over towards the south, and I think maybe thought he had the opportunity to go for a little bit of a play around them. So he took the side back over towards the southern position. If we can actually zoom in on Pachinki, you can see what I'm talking about real fast. He took the southern wall away from them, forcing Slappers to play against that line. So I don't know if it's necessarily Slappers choosing the aggression or just kind of being herded in the direction to have to take the fight.
We did see the fight down on the southern side between Enigma and Synergy starting to pop off as Fisher is able to pop the heal. What a perfectly placed nade from Pippa, bouncing it off the wall as now he tries to hit another one on towards Hello Senpai. Big barrel damage coming out, but actually the Vector going to be the one to get the kill. And a nice headshot on towards Fisher, cleans up Synergy. But Enigma, they picked up 4 kills. They lost 2 players in return. And oh, look at that. The BM coming out from Hello Senpai, burning through all of those bullets. I like it, you know. You love to see a little tad of toxicity. This is our city. Stay out of it, you know.
A Vector UMP fight for the last 2 of 8 to be alive for Milta itself. I'll be real, I'm kind of shocked. I was not expecting aggression to come back over into Milta, trying to cross the roads and getting into position. Those grenades are great and paid off huge for Enigma, but the cost is ridiculously high for them. Sure, that's going to be some very needed points, but that being said, not necessarily the most comfortable thing. Back over in Pachinki, you can see that Memo did go down. This is going to be VHZ, does find a little bit of an angle, but that should be a res. They're still fairly contained. But do you know Kazera is doing a good job of denying a lot of the positioning on the outside of this? Sophia is trying to make a play back over here to get in position as fast as possible, but there's no angles to play, and Kazera's sneaky position off on the other side finally pays off. So Slapper's trying to get the res back over towards, at least going to get 1 back up. But how fast can Kresh make the play back over towards this? Another grenade, gonna connect. Hambino goes down, so it's just Sophia and Drassel trying to find an angle to play from, and Sophia just cannot seem to get into the fight fast enough. Drassel tries to retreat, runs over the Molotov. He's going to go down, and Sophia, what do you commit to now? I think you just lean up against this wall and hide. You're inside the zone. Don't commit anymore, because guess what? There's another team that's been paying attention to Slappers leaving this position, and that's Young Kings. And they're playing just on the outside of Pachinki, waiting for somebody to try to make a rotate.
And I mean, rotates here for Slappers or Kresh, whichever team makes it out, but it is looking more and more likely to be Kresh here. As Sophia just playing it so slowly, I mean, this is rough here. It seems like these teams almost had a bit of a gentleman's agreement going on. You know, not engaging too much here, each taking half of the city. Sophia opened up some shots, and then that just opened the floodgates here. And
Don't throw this on Sophia. Gazera went over there and took the southern complex area, forcing everybody from Slappers to play forward. That was the aggression point. Gazera and Kresh were the ones that were like, no, Pachinki is ours, and tried to make a play for it. So Sophia might have gotten vision and taken some shots, but this is all based off of a Kresh, not allowing them to have that southern territory.
We do see some down on the southern side. Young Kings, they do decide to rotate off of this. So this is going to make the rotate a little bit easier for a Kresh when they do decide to make it out. And I mean, it looks like they're almost getting bored of this fight now. They want to grab a vehicle. They want to get out of here because they know Sophia could potentially just rat one of them out and cause some big issues. So Young Kings down on the southern side will be grabbing a very small compound. Fury rotating up to the north of Pachinki as well. Also going to be working their way in. But I mean, Sophia now just forced to play so slowly, and this is not what Slappers wanted. It almost feels like they wanted to get aggressive on towards this after they have only picked up 2 points in 2 games. So I mean, it doesn't surprise me they chose to get aggressive, but in Pachinki, is that really the place to be taking an early game fight of all of the cities out there?
That's not where I would make the commitment. I don't think that that's where they wanted to make the commitment either. Because, see, with Gazera making that play back over there, that denies one of the car spawns back over for Slappers to try to make their escape from. That's what they were kind of leaning into, was the southern car control. So losing that based off of Akresh's positioning means the fact that Slappers knew the fact that they were going to have to make some type of play. But this is now 3 games in a row. Slappers very low point total. So we've talked about the fact that, sure, okay, you got 4 days. You can have a rough first game. Rough second game makes it a little bit more complicated. Rough third game means the fact that just means you're getting that stage where you're starting to worry about maybe losing an entire day of games and trying to catch back up. And Slappers needs to figure out whatever's going on. And I think Pachinki is a big problem for them right now, and they need to find some other drop location.
Yeah, but we do see Danny G here from Dodge. It's going to be very close to just too easy, but it's going to be Lampalot that gets the opening knock on towards Young Kings. Now he has to turn around as Ribbo gets the knock on towards Danny in return. Dodge going to be losing a player, and they are very, very split. Later, the only player over to the east here playing on top of the hill, trying to get eyes down on towards this, and now Slappers, they will be going out. That's unfortunate for them. That's 3 games now with only 2 points. This is going to be very rough for Slappers going into, you know, on Miramar games and going into tomorrow.
I got faith. We'll see them maybe rebound back over next to Miramar. Do note the fact that ATC is trying to play back over next to Old Times. Lost one of their members as well. Enigma continuing their run back over from their Milta fights that we saw earlier. Losing one. Now just Hello Senpai, the last one up for his squad. Sitting on 4 kills right now, so they're... Even if they do go down from this position, it's not the worst. Again, keep in mind, average points is still going to be a little bit lower, but that doesn't matter. 4 feels pretty strong off of it. Gas cans doing gas cans things, and are going to go ahead and look like they're going to become a shield for our poor last member of Enigma, and that means that Hello Senpai is going to get a little bit of a breathing space to work with, but now Circle's going to pop back over towards a very familiar location, Chunks. I feel like maybe game 1 could have ended around this point with a almost exact same circle at this stage.
Yeah, it is very, very similar here, but we do hear some shots coming out from Old Times as they pull up on towards ATC, throwing down some smokes, and I mean, it looked like a drive-by was going to come out from Nork. It's not going to be the case, as Exec's getting knocked from range. 1 player alive here for Old Times. Inside that smoke, he does get the res on towards Selfish. The nade comes out. This could be huge here, but not going to be able to take them down just yet. Goes for the repeat, and of course, the drive-by coming out from Melania.
It's just stylish at this point. I mean, you got to give it to ATC. They knew how to play that one. They played the ridge well. They managed to exploit so many different angles of aggression that they could try to work around. Back over towards position, kind of close to them. It's going to be Illusion. Icy Flex did hear what's going on, but I don't think that there's going to be too much more out of that. They're going to be pretty comfortable having control point. Now, I do want to note, see Light Show rotating away from the rest of the team. It looks like he might be trying to do some northern scouting, seeing if maybe they can get a little bit of control point to play off from that position. So could be quite strong, as there are not a lot of teams, and almost everybody's kind of clustered back down towards the south right now.
Yeah, it could end up being a bit of a rough one, especially for these teams that kind of sent it into this compound here. Akresh and Comets both going to be taking this. Surprisingly, Fury had this position earlier, decided to flex down towards Potato Hill instead and play it. But I mean, Akresh and Comets, they're likely just going to be in an aim battle for the next few phases now. Provided that they're still in zone, it's just going to be players kind of taking pot shots at each other. Maybe see a couple kills coming out, but it's mostly just going to be knocks, then insta-reses. Nothing huge really going to be coming out here as a... I mean, it's going to be a lot of pot shots, doing a lot of ADR farming almost, until these teams are forced to make a push.
Now, do note location is a big factor inside of that. That kind of leads into the war of attrition that we sometimes get a chance to talk about. These early game fights where you've got somebody that close to you, where you're taking shots, that is going to burn meds, armor, and helmets. And that compound does not have a lot of replenishment capabilities coming through for that. So that could be a pretty big problem for them as they go through. Hello Senpai, though. He manages to find the magical path right to the middle of the circle, near on no contestation. But he's got to be careful. Fury does have vision back over towards him, and Veritas does have a compound back over towards the north in the apartments. Looks like that's where he's going to lean into. Catch the airtime, send it, pray that nobody sees you until it's too late. Even cuts the engine to roll in like a ninja. Hello, Senpai. You just snuck one by Veritas.
I mean, you know what? As much as I like to say he snuck one past, I think Michael probably hurt that vehicle pulling up there. He is playing it slowly, clearing his way through. Veritas know there's a player inside here, but again, this is one of those places you do not want to be fighting unless you are absolutely forced to, just because, you know, the verticality aspect. And this is one of the big things in PUBG where, sure, we're used to taking these long-range fights, but we don't really take these multi-level fights where players can be above or below you. And I feel like a lot of players really do struggle with these fights in these buildings where there's, 6 floors on a building or something crazy like that. And I mean, Veritas now, they do have Keenan over to the west, keeping an eye out, hoping that no one's going to be able to backfill from that area. But I mean, at the same time, he's very split off from his squad. And if a team like NoCap is able to identify this, this could end up being pretty unfortunate for Veritas, as they're just going to have a team third partying onto them from the east.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like Hello Senpai got away with this because Michael is even playing back over towards the eastern building now. And we didn't see Keenan come over to provide any support. Keep in mind, he did cut the engine in air, and they might have an idea, and they might have seen the vehicle, but I don't know. The tree kind of blocked it out as well. Gas Can's making a play back over towards the east. It looks like they're going to go ahead and start making a push back over towards the position fairly close towards Comets, but that shouldn't be too big just quite yet. To the south is going to be the Bloodbath, as we do have Just Too Easy making an approach back over next to Dodge, as well as Young Kings, and we're going to have Fury holding down position as well. A lot of potential violence happening around Potato Mountain.
Yep, Icy getting caught out by Michael as they backfill in towards that building that Keenan was holding. So that's going to be Top Dog, the final player in that position for Illusion. As Young Kings now, they're getting pinned up from the north. Fury doing a lot of damage on towards them. Not really connecting with any real, hard damage. But at the same time, that suppressing fire can be such a big factor, especially when you have teams like Dodge and Just Too Easy over to the east. And speaking of Just Too Easy, they're starting to flex out on towards this now. They do have to be a little careful, because if they push too far up to the north here to try to take a fight on towards Fury, that's going to give Dodge the perfect third-party opportunity, but that's not going to matter, as now Insight connecting on towards Later is going to slow down Dodge here, and they're barely inside zone, just playing some small ridges, rocks, and vehicles. It's not the best cover, especially with Just Too Easy moving in from the east now. Later's going to be able to identify this, but no specific position, just laying low, not wanting to get caught now by Insight.
While all this is going on, I did want to give a traffic report on what all has been happening. ATC did manage to get into position back over next to Rajak, so nice long northern rotation does pay off big for them. Really, NoCap does manage to get separation away from Just Too Easy as well. Top Dog's Illusion took over the position that we saw Keenan playing just a second ago to get a little bit of a foothold closer towards center in case we do see the circle try to make a push back over towards the south. Gas Cans, though, are the team I have an eye on. We know that these guys are not afraid to crash. So the question comes into play. Are they going to go for a crash play? Looks like they're just kind of content trying to make the walls and the area all around the crash, trying to get some type of angle. But, Adam does go down, and Nikos goes out, tries to go for a play as well. And it's just going to be follow-up. Everybody from Gas Cans trying to get back over towards this angle. Almost jumps out, gets one, can't look back up the window in time. And Gas Cans goes down in a blaze of glory.
Gas
Go
Cans,
Comets.
I just don't know what really happened there, but I mean, Comets, they're going to try and, make the most out of this. Is Hickerman going to be getting knocked, however, from Gazira? He actually wants to start making a push in, spots the player just before he moves up the stairs, but he can't really engage onto it for the time being. He's going to be solo. Has to get the rest of the team to support. He opens up some shots. Can't quite land them, though. There's a crash. They are just clearing out slowly but surely. They want to take these fights up against Comets in solo positions. They don't want to take the team fight here because, I mean, Gazira's over to the east. He can't really do much. Kresh have a player knocked as well. So King just holding this corner. Yaxley actually getting caught with a Molotov here. He will be on fire, just healing up. Shouldn't be too much of a problem, but he's only got bandages by the looks of things. Him and just playing the side of the smoke, hoping that the Kresh aren't able to push in too much. As King just throwing down some pre-nades to prevent a push. And let's point out as well, 8 kills already here for a Kresh.
Let's point out the southeast is what I'm talking about. We got Dodge, we got Just Too Easy, we got Fury, we got NoCap. Everybody's pushing back into this fight, and right in the middle of it is going to be Just Too Easy. Hunker down back behind a rock right now. You can see NoCap. Here's the firefight, trying to make a play back over towards it. Dodge has lost a lot inside of this one. I think are entirely out now. And yes, they are. So with this, Fury is going to start making a little bit of a look back down the hillside as well. Addict trying to find the angle back over towards Robo, does manage to take him down. So with control now starting to go back over towards NoCap, they've got a little bit of an angle, but do note, none of this is inside the safe zone. The blue zone's already coming in back behind it. So now it's just a matter of running and trying to stay ahead of what's going on. Do note that Fury does have the high ground advantage and has oversight on everything that's happening. So Cap knows this, has to step away, has to make a play back over towards the north. Running for Fury has already got himself a foothold, and you can see Just Too Easy says, I can't play that way either. I don't want to get involved in the firefight, and is now just running right along next to the blue zone. And are We're not going to be able to see the angle come through. Kodak's going to take a lot of damage off that one. And the vehicle running away from him. He's going to have to run back down to that one. That means more time in the blue. It's going to make it a little bit harder to make his way through off of this. You can see just trying to stack up. And now he's going to opt into just chasing the blue zone. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that one, buddy. Not with where we see Fury playing.
I gotta say, this could end up being an interesting position for Kodak Kid. He might actually be able to sneak in here because Cow got a knock. He sprayed the vehicle as it was rotating through. Cow then turned around and started running up the hill. So for all we know, Fury are under the assumption that Kodak has just absolutely dipped off to the west now. He's going all the way over towards Young King. He's not their problem anymore. But sneaking in with the blue, this could end up working out. However, Cow is still going to be holding that outside just in case. We do see No Cap here working their way in, keeping an eye out. Only a very small ridge between them and ATC. It could make things a little bit rough for them. There's No Cap starting to flex out. Shots coming out from Marcelic, but I mean from long range, Veritas connecting on towards it. Kodak Kid going down to Fury now is just too easy, eliminated in 10th position. Veritas up on the north as well as TA are going to be opening up on towards ATC, not wanting to make it too easy for them as the zone is about to close. And I mean, Veritas and TA, they both have to make some pretty big rotates out of hard cover here, which are very, very rough if this circle shifts away from them.
Ninja, look at him. Posted up. Senpai, teach me the ways of sneakiness. New circle has popped, and it's going to be back over towards Comet's compound because they did manage to get control back over from this point, did manage to take out a crash. So Veritas, T8, both going to have to move. No Cap, Fury, going to have to make a push back in from the south and the east. Lucian should have an easy reposition right back into where we saw Comet's holding down position just a second ago. But really, I have my eyes caught up on Veritas, T8, and Fury and No Cap. These guys are going to have to figure out how they're going to hold this with a little bit of ATC kind of thrown in the middle of all of this. So it looks like, I believe that we're getting into position and we might have a listen-in setup to hear how T8's planning to make their approach.
Then we can immediately cut right out here. Otherwise we have to drive all the way around the wall. What the... I just hit something.
The dog Z and I are a little late. Z and I are a little late.
Yeah, yep. We're a few seconds behind you.
Going green?
Yeah, yep. Go green, go green, go green.
They're here, they're here.
Heard.
He was right beside me on this rock.
Heard. Try together.
Rock,
I'm with you, I'm with you,
I'm
He's flashing.
I'm stuck.
Nading, yeah. I'm nading over towards the other rocks.
Something. What the fuck am I stuck on?
Heard. I naded the far rocks.
I'm backing up a little bit, I gotta hear.
Yeah, let's back up, let's back up. We can chill here, we're chilling. HC knocked. Yeah, be careful. They can still be in the ball. They can still be behind us towards green.
We need to set up our vehicles way better. I'm gonna try and move one US as well further back.
I'm just watching the warehouse.
HC down another. VTS pushing ATC and dog shacks. I'm stretching out into the field to see if I can get these flushes.
Heard. I'm just setting up an extra car here.
All right, so T8 has themselves a nice control point to play from, but it's turning into a mess back over towards the east. Sorry, T8, we got to pay attention to what's going on back on this other angle. Veritas trying to make their push. Hello Senpai is going to be back behind him, a potential thorn to pop up at any moment. But No Cap and ATC have angles to play from. Veritas is just going to have to push through a firm defensive line to try to find some type of angle to play from. ATC turns back around, now starting to take shots back into this. Keenan trying to find himself an angle. Gets a little bit of damage, but you can see there's not a lot to work with. Blue zone still collapsing back behind them. No Cap has the line, but No Cap has to move as well. Good shots, finally connect back over towards Keenan. Get the flush back over towards it, but now you've got to contend with the entrenchment that is ATC holding the line and now starting to push back down the hillside to make it just more miserable for Veritas.
This hillside is just third-party central right now as ATC opening up on towards No Cap, kind of pinch between Veritas, as Veritas might be able to use this to disengage, but Steezy with the third party doing some big damage. Jazza goes down, so does Michael Keenan, the last one up. Blue zone is on him, down to 14 HP. He's starting to make this run, but T8 are going to be looking to try and third party onto this. And it the last one up for No Cap as Veritas go down at it, just going down to the blue by the looks of things, as down go No Cap in 8. ATC have been able to clear off this eastern side now as Hello Senpai going out as well. Just so many players denying points to blue here, realizing they're in a rough position. And Fury are looking strong here. They had some nice third parties on towards that ATC Veritas fight, but it doesn't quite work out for them in terms of picking up any kills, as now they want to actually clown car in here. This is going to be big here.
Just send it down the hillside. Roll them right over next to ATC. Everybody lean out a different angle. They can't shoot you all at the same time. No! That's not the way to crash that one. Rona goes down. Now it's going to be a good pick him back over towards Melon. ATC is like, what the hell just happened? Norcus goes down. ATC is done so. The cost is a couple of downs. Make it a lot of downs. The car causing a lot of problems for a lot of this, but now it's a nice defensive fortification, so that way they can try to get the reses back up. But guess what? There's a new contender. They say, you want to send it? We can send it too. TAC 8 sees an opportunity, rolling back over there. One solid grenade can connect. Zell's got to run through it, drops back down, trying to find the angle to work with, but there's too much smokes. Just throw the Molotov, man. If you've got a throwable, just put it in there. It's going to do the work for you. It's just burning them all to a crisp, and that is one French fried fury right now.
I love that play coming out of Fury. It doesn't work out though, as Comets with some really nice third parties take down 3 of them. So that's going to allow T8 to move in. They identified it in the kill feed. They want to go for the third party, but Young Kings up the hill down to the south are going to be third party. And onto it, as Detonator trades one out, will be able to take down F9, but they are going to be getting the heal as a drop will land over towards Young Kings. Illusion, they start sending it in as well over towards Comets now, as the nade will land, doing some damage over towards Top Dog. Second nade finishes the job as Freemy popping the heal. The vehicle nearly lands on top of him right now, throwing down the smokes for a little bit of cover, but I wouldn't be surprised if Comets try to make a push on towards this now. Top Dog bleeds out. Freemy the last one left up, and it's going to be a rough position for him to play, just relying on these smokes as long as he can.
The real winners from everything that's going down is Young Kings. Young Kings has just been sitting back there, listening to everything that's been going on. T8 managed to get back over and got a lot of kills out of it. Young Kings hasn't been able to get much. That's the big thing with it. 0 kills, they've got position, great. But all the fighting has been on the edge. You were talking about it earlier, Chunks. Are we going to see a little bit more edge play? Are we going to see people try to make a little bit more center? It feels like everybody is committing to bloodbath right on the edge of the zone. Freemy, please, sure, he's alive, but Comets still have control over the compound, got 7 kills. And yes, if we do see them have to run up the hillside, that could be a little bit rough. But really, with the positioning stacked up right now, everybody's life could be rough depending on how the circle goes, and especially Freemy, pleases.
Yeah, I gotta say though, Young Kings, they are looking in a promising position. They just picked themselves up a drop, so that's gonna give them that 3 gear and whatever gun was inside it, which could end up being huge. But they have to work their way down this hill, and realistically, T8, they're the only team that have cover inside of this zone. But this could be big here as Higuain with the AWM trying to land some shots. He can't quite finish the job, but I'd be nervous right now if I were T8 in case of a shot like that. A Zealot going down to the AWM, beautiful headshot coming out from Higuain, as now T8, they have to try and get the res. LFP going to use this as an advantage to start making a push down the hill. Young Kings getting more and more aggressive here. Hickman going to be going down to Comets. Monty as well, actually, as Freemy will be getting eliminated. Takes down 2 on the way, should be able to get the reses off on towards this. Zealot going down to KF9 as more and more utility starting to land down. William returns the nade on towards LFP. Higuain with the nade. Is it going to land close enough, as now T8 just in such a rough position. William trying to get aggressive here, but a very small ridge for him to be able to play right now.
The big thing is those couple of knocks coming out from Freemy, please, is slowing Comets down into this fight. That means that Young Kings and T8 can just line up against each other. LFP did go down in the exchange, but you can see T8 still trying to use that little bit of a ridge to get some work out of it. That's going to buy them enough time to get their reses back up and get a little bit more defensive position, as well as LFP getting the res on the other side of this. So with the angle and high ground, but not good vision based off of Comet's potential approaches. Making this commitment back over to the east means the fact that everything essentially from the center to the west has the capability of going in Comet's favor. And you can see LFP starts to get a read on this. He's like, wait, there's too many still alive. We need to start monitoring what's going on back over towards the western corridors. And with this, Comets has managed to capitalize, sneaking in even from really a detrimental position to crawl back into this point, and are now starting to collapse back down towards the south. And that means that Young Kings, who has the high ground, who has the guns, who's got the armor, could find themselves in a pincered position. They have got to defend this, and the first shots ring out, and they are absolutely influential. Getting that knock, getting the flush, means Comets now know they have to play this much, much safer, and that means that T8 could have vision on them as well.
And having Monty be the first one to go down as well is not great. He often ends up being that kind of deciding factor in a lot of these Comets fights, so it's not great to be losing him early, as now KF9 going to start moving his way down, knows that Hitman is going to be up here somewhere, as the flashbang actually going to bounce off the tree. Young Kings going to be flashing their own teammate. They start to refocus their fire, knowing that Hickman and Himman are both going to be down here somewhere. Circle shifts down to the south. It's going to favor Comets. They're going to be in a good position, but T8 starting to reposition their vehicles, knowing this could end up being the only real cover that they're going to be able to play. Zealot starts to disengage. Himman with some nice shots, but that's going to draw the attention of Young Kings as they return the fire on towards him, as Comets now have to make a push in towards zone. Himman trying to get aggressive with the barrel, but he needs to get it done quick, as Hickman taking a lot of damage from those players up the hill. He tries to return fire with the barrel, but the smoke's providing just enough cover for the time being. More and more smokes coming down from Comets to prevent anything big from happening, but a huge headshot on towards KF9 now will take him down, as T8 now starting to third party on towards the Young Kings fight.
Good reposition on the outside of this. Exploit the weakness and the distraction that's coming on the other side of it. Take now finds himself with a little bit more playroom, but good shot's going to connect on the other side of this, and Andy just drops that one and says, hey, we may have a distraction, but don't think I've forgotten about you just quite yet. T8 now has to figure out how they're going to play off of this. They still need to make their way a little bit further to make it inside the safe zone. With the distraction on the other side, Comets still sitting as comfortably as they can with just having two members back up, and TAC-8 starting to fall apart back over towards the east. Detonator, the last one up, decides to try to go back over towards the res, and narrowly Young Kings lose vision on it. But here's the problem. You're still in throwable range, so now it's time to start stacking it back down into position, get the flashbangs out, find the angle, step back down, and finish this one off. Egan's going to step over towards the line, gets the spray back over towards it, has to go for the reload, and a little bit too greedy. Goes back down, and so with this, Young Kings just have two, trying to get the flush back over towards it, and with this distraction, Comets are running right into the middle of everything. They're getting control, running back over towards the Young Kings, gets one down, looks back over towards Andy, and he gets one down. We are in a firm 1v1, but it's gonna be Hikerman coming up on top, getting Comets a nice, solid 10-kill victory.
That was huge there from Comets, capitalizing onto that fight, but I mean, that AWM really being the deciding factor there for Young Kings, able to get the opening knock on towards T8 to actually be able to open up the fight and finish off the kills. But Comets at the end there, they heard that fight, they saw the knocks in the kill feed, they got straight onto it, they wanted to capitalize, it worked out huge for them. Very, very big kills indeed from them, and a huge game with 10 kills and a chicken dinner.
This is more of what we started seeing towards the tail end of our last day of group stage. Comets finding the opportunities. Let's be real. Comets really, they were prone to lose that at any given moment. Once they lost a couple of members trying to creep back up next to Young Kings. But it's going to be a distraction of TAC-8 on the other side that managed to buy the time for them to move not just towards the edge position, but to get in the center of the circle and a strong point and really just start to bully Young Kings on the other side of this. And Andy, my God, Andy tried. He tried his hardest. Got the knock, turned it into a 1v1, but there was just nowhere to go. He had the blue at his back, no easy angles to work with, and it just kind of, I mean, what do? We've all been in that situation before. You just got to shoot your way out, and you just didn't have time to do it.
Well, I mean, why don't we ask what they did? Because we do have Himman in here for an interview. I mean, Himman, an insane game coming out from you guys. It looked early on like you were going to be in a really long time stalemate with a crash over in that compound over to the west. I mean, as soon as gas cans moved in and got an opening knock, you guys just sent it in. I mean, what did you guys think? Were you guys expecting something like that? Were you guys planning to take the early game fight, or kind of just wait and see how the zone forced you to play?
We saw that the gas was west of us, and then we knew that we had one team in our compound, so I just gave up an intentional knock, so gas would push the south side, and then we just third-partied on that.
I mean, very, very smart, and you were able to clear out the compound. Another thing to note as well is actually being able to rotate out of that compound as well, because it was looking pretty messy. You know, they could potentially have held you guys out from being able to get into the zone, but as soon as you saw the knock coming out from T8, we also see you start to make a big push, picking up the chicken dinner. That game, absolutely huge for you guys. I want to know, like, as soon as you saw that kill feed, were you just ready to start making a move, or was it more like, okay, the zone's forcing us in, now we have to go? Were you just trying to wait as long as you could, or actually just capitalizing off the knocks?
First, we had to clear the guy in our warehouse, the last illusion guy, and then we got 2 knocked from that, unfortunately. But then there's only 10 alive, and we saw that 2 teams were fighting like far west side, and we just took that opportunity to push up right, and then we just played slowly from there while they were fighting.
A lot of what was going on with you guys was exploiting different moves that were happening around you. It seems like you guys have a very good ear for hearing the action and seeing the opportunity moments. We saw that, I believe it was you guys that were caught up against a crash earlier on the road that's north of Pachinki whenever gas cans rolled up. Gas cans did a little bit of damage to a crash, and then you guys jumped the road and decided to take the fight back over towards them. And then later, you guys hear Young Kings taking shots back and forth with TAC 8 and try to jump off of that as well. What goes into like the process of whenever you guys decide to make that influencing third-party move?
I mean, it's just knowing where people are and where you can go. And we saw like both teams got knocked, and that was like the deciding move.
Keep it simple, man. Knocks are all that matters. You know you can win the fight after that one. So the question that I have coming out from that one is whenever you're starting to make you guys did trying to think about the best way to run this one back, as it's a little bit complicated. So here, let's just go ahead and say, Chunks, you take this one. I don't want to go out and like do a 2-minute lead up to a question and then throw it at him. Do you have a last one?
Yeah, pretty simple one. I mean, near the end there, Young Kings, they picked up that AWM. You must have seen it in the kill feed, connecting with some huge headshots. When you're in a position like that, you know they've got the high ground. You know they have decent gear, really strong guns. How do you guys go about making that push? Is it all about capitalizing utility, or just kind of waiting for a fight to kick off and kind of sneaking in from there?
Like in the beginning, they were already fighting, but then they started focusing us, so we just tried to stay as long as possible, and then they started fighting again.
Yeah, I mean, well, it worked out for you guys in the end with a huge chicken dinner there. I'm sure you want to go and take a little break, though, talk about your team, about your strategies going into the next game. So thank you very much for joining us, him. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a couple minutes with game number 4 of the evening over on Miramar and our updated leaderboards to see how far comments have been able to move up there. We will see you guys in a couple of seconds.
What the hutch? Oscar and Felix, Turner and Hooch, Bert and Ernie. Things that don't seem to go together quite as well, but somehow they make each other better. Just like that, we're bringing together experts in immunotherapy and data sciences here at the steam plant on Lake Union in Seattle. Together, the combination is making immunotherapies better and moving to the next level. This is the only dedicated cancer center with such a facility in the US, and together, we're running towards cures faster. What the hutch? What the hutch?
What a huge game coming out from Comets there towards the end as they pick up a really big chicken dinner in our final Orango game of the evening. Very, very impressive indeed. And as we hop over to the leaderboard, see how things have been switched up here. Veritas still out there in first with 34 points. But, I mean, only 2 points behind is going to be TAC 8 after, I mean, a really impressive game coming out from them. Making it into the late game, they identified the push coming out from Fury over on towards whatever team it was playing that shack, and they quickly rotated. They were all the way over on the west. They saw the kill feed. They knew the fight was popping off. They saw Fury had 3 players knocked. In they went with the vehicles, picking up some huge kills that game.
But it's so much closer than just Veritas and TAC 8. We got to crash 1 point back behind that. Comets 1 point back behind this. The top 4 is starting to get extremely tight already. There's a little bit of a gap where we drop down to old times, but then instantly tight again. Look at this. Old times 20, no cap 19, illusion 19, back behind that Young Kings with 18. It is just packed up right on the, or I should say, it's packed up on the left side of the leaderboard. So with this, it's still anybody's game as we're moving in throughout the day. We still got Miramar to go, and we know that Miramar sometimes throws a curveball at a couple of our teams and forces them to play in a different meta and a different style.
Yeah, we often see a lot of the teams that kind of struggle over on Orangle really start to thrive on Miramar because I feel it kind of, it lends a hand to slightly different play styles where players are able to kind of spread out. And, you know, teams specifically like Gas Cans, I feel, are one of those teams that really do a lot better on Miramar because of all those little ridges, little divots that you don't really get in many places on Orangle. Teams are able to split up a little bit and kind of set up kind of a firing squad on towards one team's position who may just be caught, you know, in the middle of them.
I do need to point out, though, I'm a little disturbed seeing any trolls in chat, Guadalajara Gas Cans, Dodge, and Slappers all under 10 points right now. That one is, I mean, let's be real, we've seen some messy fighting, specifically in the early game. Slappers is having a rough time just trying to make it to Circle 3. But, I don't know, I would expect more out of them, and I'm hoping that maybe Miramar will give them a chance to revitalize and recharge, because, let's be real, all 4 of those teams in the bottom 4 is kind of surprising.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting contrast as well because we actually saw Gas Cans and Fury both first and third respectively in the group stages. Now with, you know, of course Fury had a decent game last game. They picked up some big points, especially after a huge crash like that. That was awesome to watch. But Gas Cans with only 5, I really expected them to come into this strong. They showed that they can hold their own against these teams that are in this lobby, but unfortunately it's just not working out so far today. But we'll see how Miramar ends up switching that up as we hop over to our kill stats for a second, see how things are looking right now. And I mean, big kills coming out all round. A Kresh Gazera out there with 10 at the moment, taking that first from Keenan, who's one behind. And, I mean, you know, of course, not to forget Hickerman as well from Comets down there with 8 in third, tied with Ribbo. Detonator from T8, a really nice capitalization on towards the fight here that was over near those shacks after that Fury crash, really working out for T8 as they picked up some serious kills. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's 5 seconds until the game starts. So let's hop into game number 4 of the evening.
All right, everybody. So with this, we're going to be starting back over next to prison, ending up back over next to Tory, back towards the north. So, question comes into play. We saw Picado. Not necessarily seeing a lot of interesting mixes going into play, but Pachinki, Our first 3 rounds contested every single time. Are we going to see more contested drops coming into play, or are these guys going to go ahead and give each other a little bit more breathing room in the earlier stages?
I mean, you know what? It's interesting, and I say this all the time. It's always the first and last games where we see kind of either intentional or unintentional hot drops come out. The first game I feel like is going to be very, very tight. As much as a wrangle, like you want to get yourself a good drop spot. With Miramar, I feel like it's even more important because it's not like a wrangle where you can just kind of drive through fields, drive over hills, no problem. On Miramar, if you get like a bad drop and a bad rotation out of it, you are really going to struggle.
I mean, we're looking at some potentials for some interesting stuff. Fury is going to go ahead and get control back over towards center, but Monte Nuevo being the hot spot and slappers, man, you just cannot get away from Crash. Crash just goes ahead and gets themselves first blood, falls back over. Not a lot going on, as you can see. Poor Hambino, man. I know the Ham family is not feeling it right now. It's pretty rough. The slappers just cannot even seem to land, to find guns to even get into a fight just yet. Maybe Drassel might find something for his teammates, but you can see Crash managing to rebound back on the other side of this. If we see slappers decide to take a fight back towards the northern part of this, it will be a set 3v3. So that means that there is a little bit of a chance for redemption, but I don't know if slappers are even contemplating a fight right now. Circle has popped back over towards a little bit east of center, but that does mean that where we're looking at right now is not going to be inside the safe zone. So these guys got to make some decisions fast.
I mean, if you're slappers now, I really do wonder what your strat exactly is going to be, because sure, you have kind of the east on Monte. You should be able to get some vehicles off of this. There's usually a couple around this road, around this junction. So they should theoretically be able to disengage. The problem is, looking at the map, there are no real lootable areas as such around them that are free. There's no cities, there's no large land masses where loot spawns. It is very much just spot looting. So slappers now have to make a decision on whether they want to rotate out early just to secure themselves into that late game, or whether they want to loot up very quickly here around Monte Nuevo and then start the rotate. But we do see Kaishen here going to be rotating up to the north, looking like he's kind of expecting Drassel to go for this vehicle now.
Well, Drassel going back over towards the north is just so he can go back down towards the south. Everybody from Slappers has made a rotation back over and towards this point, and they might be able to get a kill because you can see that they know exactly where the position is coming out. Now, the question comes into play. How fast is Kresh going to counter move around this? And are Slappers going to commit to this? Because let's be real, making the push back over in this position can be a little bit rough. You've got to hit these shots, and Memo takes a little bit of damage off the first peak, tries to follow it back up, and this is a very early fight. Look, Memo doesn't even have a backpack yet. So now it's a matter of defending the points of aggression back over towards you. Memo trying to cruise in, gets close, grenade lands right on top of him, and Drassel says, you may have gotten Hambino, but I'm going to go ahead and get vengeance for my boy.
Drassel out there venging his teammate. That was a beautiful nade. I don't know about you, but I love seeing nades like that where they just bounce off a wall, land perfectly at someone's feet, pick up the kill. Very well played there from Slappers, but Gazira and Kaishan both going to be working down to the south to potentially get aggressive on towards this. Sophia playing very, very slowly over on that cliff here. Potentially this could be a really smart bait strategy coming out from Slappers. This could be intentional here to try and get a knock on towards Gazira and pick up even more kills onto a Kresh, because I mean, after last game they went down to Kresh over in Picardo. Can you blame them for having a bit of a chip on the shoulder this game?
Oh, nice point here. Gonna go ahead and spray back over towards it. Quick pickup. Should be an easy flush as well. And Sophia knows the fact that shots are gonna come back over, but gonna go ahead and commit to the flush off of it. Denies the angle as well. Gazira is gonna be a little bit annoyed based off of that one. Now Drassel going for a little bit of a play. Finally starting to find their rhythm. You can see Slappers starting to make the plays back over towards Kresh's positioning. Already almost doubling. If they get one more kill, think about that. They will double their points so far. It has been a rough day for them so far. So with this, picking that up, now looking back into the distance and towards the horizon, what is Kresh going to do? Because Gazira wants nothing to do with this fight.
Yeah, Slappers, they had 2 points going into this game. They've just doubled their points off of 2 kills, so they got to be happy about that, and especially getting the kills on towards Koresh as well, the squad that have been challenging you all game and kind of taking a lot of your attention and causing you big problems going into the games. I mean, it's worked out well for them, but I mean, we see teams now, they are going to start making their rotates. So Koresh going to be moving out of Monte Nuevo as well. See, just too easy, taking this Hacienda kind of area, and I gotta say, it feels like recently we've seen a lot of these circles ended in or around Hacienda. We saw it in the group stages. I gotta say, if we see one of those circles, I'm gonna be so excited because they are so much fun to watch.
It's just Miramar things, man. We get that area around water treatment, Hacienda, just that northern corridor so much. And with the way that we're looking at the circle, there is the capabilities of maybe seeing Graveyard. We might see a San Martin. We might also see water treatment. There's still a lot of potential options in all of these ending circles. Good for different reasons and how you want to play it. I do want to point out, though, that we do have gas cans already making play back towards the center and I guess what could be a 2-2 split, but right now it is a 2-1-1 split coming back over with Oldest back over towards the north and Honey Badger down towards the south of it. So with this, you're going to see SG coming in from the south, going to be bumping into Fury's positioning, and Insight's going to have a nice angle in just a second. Pippa might have a little bit of a spider senses going off, saying maybe I don't want to make this too much of an aggressive push. So now with this, they have to be a little bit more careful because they do have T8 down the hillside and potentially might have Enigma coming up back behind them, but that's at least a minute or two from now.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a great position for Fury to be in. They tried to take shots over towards T8, who were rotating through down to the south, but that gave Synergy Gaming the opportunity that they needed to try and hear these roll up with the vehicles, and I think Insight maybe heard that vehicle moving up behind him, so now they want to start getting a bit more aggressive into zone. They have Flood across the street. He's providing good intel over into the zone, maybe got eyes over towards NoCap, which is why we see Fury kind of settling for some compounds, but I mean, over near Power Grid now, we do see Keenan. He's going to be able to pick up an opening knocking on towards Higuain. As, I mean, Veritas with a really nice split, playing the high ground here on towards Young Kings, doing what they can to lay down some damage. As KF9 going to be taking a little bit of damage from Keenan. He starts to go for the high ground, but the downside is these hills, they do not have the best cover if any teams, you know, north of San Martin, such as ATC, are able to get eyes on towards it. It's not beyond all reason that they could hit, you know, a 500-meter mini 14 shot when there is just zero cover.
I mean, Veritas plays this position so well. They want to do it all the time. They'll move over here. They'll try to get a little bit more information. They'll really start trying to control the area back over around Graveyard. We do see that Young Kings had encroached back up on this hillside, back over towards the south, and that's really what they're trying to do, contain. Do note, D-Treats is very centered, but not along that same hill. So that's why you see Veritas playing this a little bit more, I guess, cautiously, a little bit more controlled. They're not wanting to commit into anything, and unless we see Young Kings play this a little aggressive, they're going to be perfectly content. Jazz has got a contain point, not going to make any big moves just quite yet. Meanwhile, Gaskins are looking to regroup. They are still running that 1-2-1 split, a little bit closer this time. But on the outside of this, it should be noted that we do have Comets making their approach and Slappers that could be coming in back over towards the south, potentially encroaching over towards T8, Fury, or SG's positioning.
Yeah, speaking of T8, they're starting to backfill on towards Power Grid now. It looks like they're going to kind of do a bit of a split here. They don't want to over-engage. They know that Veritas play this position. They know the Young Kings play it as well, so they don't want to get over-aggressive. They just want to get themselves a position inside zone that maximizes rotation ability, because at the end of the day, in a circle like this, you know that it's likely not going to shift down to Power Grid. You know you're going to have a rough time getting in. So rather than going just super deep in towards Power Grid, playing cliffs that are really hard to rotate off of, laying back a little and just being able to potentially back off and go all the way out of zone to make you rotate in can be absolutely huge. But we see Slappers now, after an early game fight over against a Kresh, they're going to be making their rotate in. Drassel and Memo just pulling up down to the south of T8. Don't think that T8 are going to be super concerned about this for the time being, but there is always that risk factor as well, as shots are starting to land down now over towards Synergy. They are four-manned up inside this compound with Enigma over on the northeast taking some really long-range shots.
I mean, this is just, again, the attrition war right now. You're just going for armor. You're trying to burn meds, maybe get a knock. Just make it a little bit rougher for the later stages. You can see the range that's coming into play right now. Not a big chance that we're going to see a lot of kills just quite yet. Everybody's kind of found their own little corner and kind of hunkered down. But this circle shifting back over towards the north is going to throw a huge monkey wrench into everybody's plans. You can see everybody back down to the south already inside of vehicles. And they're like, damn it, we have got to go. So with this, Kings of the North are going to be in strong positions. Most notably, we're going to see Illusion making a play back over towards the Gonplexes towards the west. Old-timers trying to find a play back forward. Fury's whacking Communical, trying to get spray back over towards Slappers. Somehow running through it. Are they finally paying off? But Insight just comes up and tries to deny it. QUALS right in the middle, but somehow it's the Slappers that are coming up triumphant. They are just running through this, somehow surviving. Sure, there's smoke on their vehicles and they know that they're in trouble, but they have managed to weather the calm. They just have to continue rolling through. No caps next one, trying to hold them out. You know, they are still going to have other teams trying to hold them out.
That is huge there for Slappers, as I thought that Fury were going to be able to hold them out. It's not going to be the case now. Memo started to work his way up this hill. Veritas deciding to rotate in towards San Martin very early in the game. Jazza far off to the north is going to be getting lit up here, but Memo, his vehicle is on fire. That front tire is nearly gone, and Young Kings are going to hear this now as he sends it in towards them. Tries to go for the C2. Already caught with the headshot, though. Acne going to be able to get the knock and the flush on towards him. Slappers going to be losing one, as the rest of Slappers is going to be Drassel and Sophia. Decided to play that compound down to the south instead, but we do see Jazza up on the north. He overextended just a little bit here for Veritas, as Nork is going to be able to get the knock on towards him. Veritas just going to be forced to play San Martin for the time being now.
Everybody is still clustered back down towards the south. No one is playing water treatment. That means that we're going to see a lot more blood inside this game, with the teams being forced so close to each other, specifically around San Martin. That means the fact that there's going to be choices. There's going to be choices galore, but not fun choices. Do you push back over into San Martin? Do you just hunker back down into position? You can see Slappers, after losing that one, go, okay, well, we've just got to play the compound that's back down towards the south. Fury, though, making a long rotation back over towards the south, going back down towards the Picado hillside, making their way back up on a different angle. I like the reposition off of that, realizing how hot and heavy it's going to be back on these other angles. So with this, there's a cluster of teams around Hacienda, San Martin, that hillside just to the south of it. But there's pretty much wide open space towards the north, and that's going to play big whenever you got teams like Enigma making that rotation into position.
He actually having a bit of vehicle trouble there, but nothing to worry about as he is able to right it properly. We do see Slappers, they did decide to make that rotate in, heading into San Martin as well, as Flamey getting caught by LFP with the knock. And the question is, what do Slappers decide to play now? This isn't the best position to be playing, as teams are up on the north, could potentially third party onto it, like ATC, but they have that tree for cover. They're laying prone right now, knowing that Young Kings are down to the south, as they're going to be taking a lot of long-range shots on towards no cap here, and most teams appearing to be kind of settled here. They shouldn't have to worry too much. The issue is, however, going to be Enigma all the way up on that northeast. They have a bit of a way to go, and Old Time's going to be potentially looking to try and hold them out here if they make too much noise. But I mean, as this zone closes in, the question is, do teams make it into San Martin? Because we talk all about these times, or at least I do, about how these cities, they can be kind of a coin toss right here. Oh, is Insight going to be getting ran over by his teammate? Not a great one. Is Fury going to be getting Insight flushed out as well now? They've exposed themselves. Young Kins starting to get open on towards it. And hey, I called it in phase one. Hacienda games, they are so much fun to watch, and we might just end up seeing one right now.
A little bit of San Martin still in play as well, so that means that where we see Illusion playing is going to be ridiculously strong. SG not inside the safe zone. I mean, they've got that one building, but let's be real, they ain't going to stay there. They're going to go ahead and make a path back over towards the north. Back over towards the east, though, it's going to be Gas Cans getting vision back over onto Comets as they're starting to make their little bit of an approach back into it. Gas Cans hop into a vehicle and are trying to get away from it. Nico's the last one up. Comets taking this one very slow, but Enigma going to be coming back in from the north, hoping upon hope that water treatment was going to be in play, but it is not going to be. Now, Fury is going to have to make some type of play as well. So with this, Gas Cans look like they're trying to regroup. Coming back over, I don't think that they're aware of Comet's positioning. Comets don't have the angle. I mean, it's a potential point, but I like the idea. Don't go loud. Instead, just go back to the vehicles. You've got the zone that's going to be coming up back behind you. That's the priority. Get somewhere safe, because they still have to cross a field that's going to be directly in front of them, and it's going to be wide open. Instead, move early. get ahead of it. Sure, there's a potential 1 or 2 points that you can get in kills, but instead, try to get away from the positioning and try to get ahead of them inside the zone. Instead, though, they're just going to roll right in between both of the duos, stack up, and just take a complex. Easy peasy, just cutting it through while gas cans really were just trying to regroup.
I mean, gas cans, they're playing this 2-2 split. This could end up working out well for them, as they will kind of have crossfire on towards Comet's compound, especially with Yaxley a little bit further off to the north on his own. Kind of separated from the rest of the team. The circle has pulled away from San Martin, as over on the west we do see T8. They do start to rotate through. Detonator getting caught with a big headshot here from Danny G, as Dodge doing what they can to try and connect on towards this. Detonator just forced to go down prone. As a crash, he breaks the line of sight using that tower, but that vehicle is in a very precarious position now.
Secondary problem that they're going to have to face is that they didn't even manage to make it fully back over towards San Martin itself. There's Dodge back over towards the north. It's going to be harassing. Steezy is trying to make approach, already down to about half life, still trying to cut up the hillside. This means that Steezy is entirely separated away from the rest of the teammates. Do note the other members for T8 are going to try to make an approach, but they're going to have Akresh and Veritas already inside of San Martin that they're going to have to try to contend with. So TAC-8 really doesn't have a lot of options except to hope that these tanks that they're trying to drive across the hillside are going to buy them enough time to get somewhere. The front guy on all of this is going to be Steezy, who's running all the way back over towards the north, right up into Enigma's face. Zealot's falling back away from this one, still just trying to make his way back into a similar position. And I think that Steezy's managed to get it, but Zealot's not going to be able to get over there. And it is just a continued weathered fire, just as one member after another just takes more and more damage until finally a dip is all they can manage to find, and they just have to commit to it as William goes down and gets flushed. Detonator goes, this might not have been the best option. Steezy's in safe distance, but they just can't make it to him. Too many people are stacked back over into that position.
That is so unfortunate for TA. I'm not sure whether you spotted, but Williams' vehicle actually ran out of gas as they hit the top of the hill. So they were trying their best to coast it down, but it just ran out of gas. When that tire got shot out, it forced them to spin out, which meant even though theoretically they could have coasted down the hill towards Steezy's position, when they lost that tire, it spun them out and it ruined their chances. They had to just hop out and play behind it. That is so unfortunate there for T8 now. As we do see Synergy, they're going to be getting a player knock, but just too easy here. Old Times directly over this ridge, as actually Synergy losing a lot of players now. T8 will be going down as Ripper connects on towards Steezy. A nice push coming out for them there, but Beams knocked off to the north by just too easy, as now so many teams going to start sending it in towards this Hacienda area, because they know there's just so many dips and hardcover that you're able to play. Addict going to be able to get the knock on towards Pippa. Headshot landed on towards Danny. It can't quite connect for the finish, and I don't really expect anyone to push on towards Synergy from this position, because, I mean, these ridges, they are just so rough for vehicles to be able to make it through.
Well, that's the problem around Hacienda. You don't necessarily even need vehicles anymore. You can see Comets are just footing it across open space, getting closer and closer with each step. Now everything's starting to die down back over towards the north, as there's a little bit of separation coming through, but the south is still just a cluster of teams. Illusion trying to make their way back over into position, should find a little bit of a position that they can play based off of this. They can come up the hillside. Just depends on how Enigma's going to defend this one. Back over towards the west, you can see Akresh has managed to get to a position right over in a similar spot. But Illusion's just going to start rolling through, and as we have seen inside this new meta, it's spray and pray as you're rolling through position. Icy Flex tries to make a play back over towards this, but it's going to be a nice hold coming out from Melon. Gets him down onto one of them. Icy Flex trying to find the angle for it, gets the spray, and does manage to connect, but there's the vengeance shots on the other side of it. Everybody is down based off of this position, and Orcus wants to go and try to res his boy, but can't get the angle because Free Please stayed behind and is continuing to harass.
Yeah, Freemy, I mean, the question is there, was that the right play to make? When you have two teammates send it in, you see one's about to go down, do you just hop on that bike and start the rotate in? That's a question they're going to be asking themselves, but they do at least pick up one kill off of it, as Freemy now actually looking like he potentially just wants to send it in over towards Norcus and finish off this fight. We did hear him cut the engine, so trying his best to sneak in. He's only got the Iron Sight M4 to work with. As he starts to move in, Norcus playing that staircase, wants to be careful about it as he just goes to pop the boost, knows he's going to be taking a fight soon. Freemy up on full HP. He shouldn't have too much trouble taking this fight. The only problem is, though, ATC still have players alive. They might be far away, but if Norcus is really in trouble, they could theoretically group up.
He knows. Look at the way he read that. Whenever he was going back down to grab the flashbang, he knew that somebody was already inside the compound. New circles popped. Still staying on Hacienda. San Martin teams are cussing galore. See, Fury's already trying to make a little bit of a play back over towards the dip. But the angles of fire, you've got just too easy, just raining in death, and everybody from Fury forced to lay down inside the dip. Young Kings trying to get a little bit of aggressive position, but that means that they're also going to be envisioned from just too easy. Really kind of protecting them and making their life miserable at the exact same time.
That is so unfortunate for Fury, and at exactly the second that one of them runs over their teammate, Young Kings come in for the third party. The smokes will be providing cover, but KF with a really nice spray on towards Ronan now will be able to get the knock. Waikik and Mukau and his teammate, the two players left standing. Flood starting to move up this ridge to get aggressive on towards KF9 as more and more utility coming in. Smokes, flashes, everything. Cow going down to the Molotov, blown up by the vehicle. Flood, the last one standing. As a crash going to be going down to Veritas. All of these smokes coming in from Young Kings are just making it so disorientating if you're Fury right now. Flood tries to peek out, but doesn't peek out wide enough to get eyes. He hears the footsteps from KF9 as he will get caught from the side angle. Takes a little bit of damage. Not going to be enough for the killers. Ronan getting flushed out now. Can Flood maybe make something happen as he's just playing these smokes so carefully? Gets spotted out, and KF9 cleans up. Young Kings annihilating Fury as they go down in 13th position.
While all of this has been going on, reposition starting to happen back over towards the north. Nigma does manage to make it back into a safe position, but they do have to be careful. It's going to be gas cans back over towards the east, right back behind them. Dodge over on the other side of the circle, going to have to make some type of play, but gas cans slow creeping up this hillside. Might find vision on Enigma at any given second, and if they do, it's going to be wide out in the open. A couple of shots going to start coming back in on the other side. You can see Dodge going down. Distraction pops off, but here comes the angle play off of it. Oldless already gone down off of this. Gas cans trying to retreat based off of positioning, hoping that the throwables are going to be able to save them, but they have to be super cautious. Back behind this on the other angle. Finally, the fight has managed to slow down, but they have to keep their eyes peeled back towards the position at all times. And Enigma says, hell no, we're just going to gun it at you. We know we've already weakened you. We're just going to keep on pushing. Honey Badger gets sprayed back over towards one. Gets Ripper down, but now playing back around the smokes. It's going to be Yellow Senpai trying to get the quarter flank back into position. Doesn't quite manage to spot Honey Badger just yet, but yes, beautiful spin coming back over from Honey Badger off of that one. Somehow managing to hold up for his team, and now it's just Junior up on the top of this one, looking back down. No real easy angles to work with as Old Time's trying to find something to work with inside of this fight as well. Honey Badger still just trying to find the angle. Looks like he's got the throwable. It's going to be landing back over next to Enigma's position. JR does manage to switch back around off of it, but it is just a continual crossfire between these two while Old Times is trying to get involved. ATC has heard it and is now coming back up on a different angle right back behind this position. It's going to be Honey Badger on near on no life, managing to hold it through and get the victory.
Honey Badger just clutching out the 1v3 there, JR. He tried to keep down Old Time's heads with the SLR, but that might have just been the mistake that he made as he turned around. He kept Old Times out of it, but it gave Honey Badger an opportunity to heal up for a second there and get back into the fight. But now Honey Badger going to be up against ATC in a 1v2. We do see No Cap. They pulled up their vehicles into this dip, but they got a little bit of a way to go. And these dips are just so horrible to play. Comets over on the eastern side are going to be looking to try and pick something up off of this. Is Heikeman going to be going down? Rivo trying to hit the spray on towards Yaxley. Yaxley, he made it in towards this dip as the hip fire spray is going to be coming out. And now just too easy. No surprises here. Out come the underhand nades. Are they going to be close enough? Not quite, but doing a decent amount of damage. LFP going to be going down now as Young Kings making a rotate over to the west. Honey Badger picking up Marcelic, but the nade finally landing on towards Beamy as No Cap tries to make the push. Himon from the side angle gets the kill on towards one. Veritas going to be going down now as No Cap only one player left remaining. Is going to be Plume playing behind this vehicle. But the Molotov lands perfectly, will be able to connect. I'm not sure whether it's going to be enough for the kill on towards Plume as he's going to be going for the heal, but Pimble looking to try and finish the job with the barrel, and there it is. Down goes Plume, but No Cap out in 9th position.
While that was going on, Honey Badger did manage to get some work back over into ATC. Light Show, the last one up, trying to roll through this one. We've got a 1v1 stacking based off position, but Honey Badger doesn't want any part of it. Not Honey Badger, I'm sorry. Light Show doesn't want any part of it, just running right through this, getting himself into a good position. Do note, Just Too Easy still has vision for days based off of their positioning and are doing a lot of control inside the circle, harassing everybody as they make their approach. The only vulnerable point that they really don't have a lot of vision on is towards the north. Luckily for them, really it's just Old Times back over right along the edge of the zone, and everybody else is kind of hunkering towards the edges. And you can see, look at the way that they're playing this. They get to referee every single fight that is happening around them.
Yeah, let's not forget as well, Just Too Easy, they picked themselves up 2 drops already. So Low Key here has that 3 gear and the Groza, and I didn't see what teammate it was, whoever it was up on the roof. Yeah, it was Kodak Kid, has himself an MK14 and the 3 gear. Is Pippa going to be getting knocked now by Song Shing? I mean, Synergy should be able to get the res onto this without too much of a problem, but Comet's going to be looking for the third party potentially. Is he actually still playing prone inside this ridge? Comets know, surely they have to make a move in a second. They're going to be planning this out and hoping that, I mean, this dip is going to provide enough cover from Just Too Easy, as now the focus is going to be over towards Synergy. Honey Badger up to the north, trying to make a push, as old Times are going to be taking a couple shots towards him. But let's see how this circle ends up popping now, as it will close in, and it could potentially center up over on Hacienda, which is going to be the case here. It shifts slightly to the west.
This is going to be interesting on a lot of different angles. It should be noted, I know, guys, I'm about to say a sentence we haven't heard yet. It's phase 7 and Slappers are still up and alive. The problem is they've got to make a cross into the safe zone, and it's not going to be an easy one. Last remaining member up for Young Kings. Andy has vision based off of their positioning. The Slappers going to have to keep an eye out based off of that, but you can see Old Times managing getting a knock. This is going to allow them to start making their push back over into position. So with this, let's take a quick listen in to the comms as they're trying to make their play.
Tô full safe, velho. Dá pra vir em mim, velho. Dá pra me restar, eu tô safe dentro da safe, velho. Reto. Tem que bater primeiro. Tem que tentar dominar a frente aqui, mano. Tem que tentar pegar esse terreno rugoso aqui do 3. Os caras da começo tomaram mais um knock, meio
pega a pedra aí,
knock
tem um monte
desses
de
caras,
pedra aí,
velho.
deita nas pedras aí, mano. Tô safe aqui.
Tá bom. Just Wiz nocou 2 caras diferentes, velho. Deve começar aí, velho. Cuida. A gente não consegue encostar agora aqui?
Acho que consegue, mas o problema é direito também. Não,
mano, vamos tentar manter essa negativa aqui, velho. Vou renovar smoke na minha direita pro cover pra direita.
Tem um cara aqui nesse carro. Tem um cara aí na direita. Ninguém tem uma nade pra matar ele?
Eu tenho uma nade,
mas eu tô...
Calma, Bruto.
Não, tô tentando furar o pneu. Tentando furar o... explodir o carro.
Ele morreu, ele tá morto, Bruto. Ele tá morto, Bruto. Relaxou.
Tem um cara em cima do telhado, velho.
Tá, demorou. Tamo safe, mano. Só segura o jogo agora, velho.
Cuidado esquerda, só. Cuidado esquerda.
Ajuda o Bruto,
Meu ping.
Tá. Tô sem capa, não posso ficar picando aqui, ô Ezeco.
Vou passar pra... Mano, eu vou colar ali. Mano, tem que dar cover. Tem capa nesse drop aí, será? Tem que dar cover, velho. Não pode passar.
Vamos chegou, né?
Eu peguei o capa do...
Tá bom, beleza, tudo bem.
Já, a gente tem que dar cover pro Pumps passar.
Vou passar, hein. Pronto?
Vai.
Relaxa, ele não tá picando.
Cima do telhado.
Aham, eu vi.
Eu já passei.
Mano, eu vou fazer uma smoke pra frente, Ezex. Vou tirar um pouco da nossa visão.
Yeah, nice push coming out there from Old Times, as they made a nice little push in towards the zone, but I don't think that it's going to be a rough position for them indeed. They do have control of the northern half of the circle, but I mean, this southern side is about to absolutely kick off, as now the circle will shift over to the east. This is looking good for not only Comets, but also Old Times, as they could potentially hold off a lot of these teams from making a cross into the zone.
See the circle shift back over towards the east. Very violent for a lot of these teams. Now the fact that SG is going to have to make a little bit of a move. Finally, you can see Just Too Easy starting to have to make a couple of decisions. Off in the distance, Sophia still somehow clinging to life. Managed to make it into the top 5 teams, but not a lot of options on how to make a push back through this. Just Too Easy is making it just too easy to defend this one up. While all of this distractions happening over, Slappers is really the MVP for 2 different teams, as now Old Times has managed to move into position, as well as Comets, right on the other side of where we see the Hacienda Hill. And with everybody from Just Too Easy looking back over towards Sophia, that means the fact that opportunities have abounded for the other teams. Everybody from Just Too Easy is caught up and looking back over towards Sophia. So with this, I don't know. Just too easy. You have to look back on the other angle. You have to defend this one up. Look, everybody's looking over here, and how many teams have managed to creep right over here next to Just Too Easy's position? And with this, Just Too Easy has lost control over the center of the circle. They have the high ground vision still to work with, but the cost on trying to get Sophia was ridiculously high, and they still haven't managed to take him out.
Yeah, and I mean, Old Times have been able to work their way down to the south now, so they're looking like they could end up taking a head-on fight up against Comets down here. But I mean, nice shots coming out from Kodak Kid over on towards Sophia. Both players going to be getting some fire returned on towards them. Kodak Kid with the 3 helmet and will be doing a lot of saving right now. Sophia finally getting eliminated. We are down to our final 4 teams. We did see those synergy there making a push on towards Comets, as now they quickly get eliminated. They will be able to flush out Himon, but I mean, Comets, they've been able to pick up the kills, as now Old Times likely going to start looking for this now. They have themselves a nice position to play. XX going to be able to kind of chill behind the ridge, but Just Too Easy. They realize now they have to start making a move. Here comes the utility on towards Monty. Huge headshot landed. He actually gets the knock on towards Song Shing, but traded out is Monty. Ribbo goes for the reload as he actually goes for the peek and is absolutely lit up. Tries to take down one. Not going to be enough, as now Ribbo going to be able to clean this up. 2 LATAM teams, 4 players up from each, as Just Too Easy and Old Times both going to be getting opening up on towards each other. Execs with some nice shots on towards Kodak Kid now will be able to clean that one up, leaving Just Too Easy with only 2 players as the zone starts to move in. And Old Times, they just have beautiful zone control right now.
Old Times just has to play this one slow. Don't overcommit. Force Just Too Easy to make the plays around them. Just Too Easy, it does have that high ground. Old Times has so many different firing lines that they can try to aggress from. Do note, 2 members have kind of creeped back over towards the western point, trying to see if maybe they could spot somebody out. Hasn't managed to find an angle just quite yet for them. They do have a little bit of a rough terrain piece that's in front of them, but with this, it provides a ton of cover. So listening into footsteps, keeping it quiet, trying to figure out the angle of approach that Just Too Easy is going to try to make is the big factor for this. So whenever everything starts to condense back down towards the center point, do note, Old Times, they have the control, they have the angles to work with. That's why Just Too Easy is starting to throw out the smokes, hoping the fact that they can manage to bait something around back in the angle. Good grenade's going to pop back over, force them to think a second time about it. Second follow-up grenade's going to go back over, but look at the reposition. Jumping the wall, still using the smoke space off of the angle. It's all about just trying to find that opening knock back over towards this. We are in a straight-up 3v4, and the numbers do favor Old Times. Everything for Just Too Easy is about finding the angle, and finally, they do manage to connect onto something. Getting down execs, this is going to kick open the door. So I'm starting to make a play back down to this position. Could really be the one to undo everything Old Times has got set up. Goes for the spray into it, performing a massive amount of distraction for the rest of the team. Everybody from Old Times tries to make the push back over towards it. It's just him trying to hold the angle, gets spray back over towards one, trying to get the second one. Near on, no life left, trying to be back over on the angle, and he manages to get it. Just Too Easy manages to hold that one together and pick up 10 kills and a very narrow victory.
Song Shing with the 1v3, that was absolutely huge, runs out of ammo in his M4, switches over to the SLR, cleans up. What a huge game coming out there from Just Too Easy, able to take control of Hacienda and absolutely clear it out. That was absolutely huge right there from them.
I thought it was going to come apart for them. Whenever they focused in on Sophia and they lost control back over towards the center of it, I thought Old Times, they had the numbers, they had the control, but the firepower stepping up for Just Too Easy. God, that was just beautiful to watch. Look at the rotate back over, realizing gonna take too long to reload. I don't even care that this is my long range weapon. I got belief in my close range aim with him, and performs in a clutch moment for his team.
That was absolutely huge there. I think we're going to take a very short break before we get our interview. The LATAM players are over in TeamSpeak. We're all in Discord. So give us a couple minutes, get that set up. But we will be back in just a couple seconds with an interview with one of our winning players.
been chilling, watching the ocean with you. Baby up with a slow motion crew. And we up in our cloudlands when people change, but not us. And we just chillin', kicking it, kissed by the sun. Could be soaked to the skin in the mall soon. I know she got the good vibes when seasons change, but we're the same. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. And I'll be running, possessed by a low, low voodoo. Fired up like a wolf on a full moon. And we're stuck in a la la land. The tides will turn without us. And I'll be killing time like I might be a cartoon. Take it in real life like haiku. I know we got the good vibes when pieces fall right into place.
A huge win coming out there for Just Too Easy as they clutch up, and what an amazing ending right there. We are joined by Loki. I mean, very well played, dude, out there holding on to Hacienda. When it came to the late game, did you guys start to panic, realizing there were two teams over on your east?
I mean, we try to focus on all the sides because we got people like in all flanks and east, south, north, and everywhere. So we just focus on that, trying to not letting anyone enter the hacienda. So we don't panic, just try to play safe.
I'm just curious. After the clutch, how much screaming was there? Surely you guys were cheering, right?
A little bit of screaming by Capitan Xiangxin, his Capitan. So yes, a little bit, yes.
I mean, you guys have been putting on one hell of a show, especially whenever it comes into the later stages of the games. Your territory control is so good. What are the strategies you guys used in just holding down in-game circles?
Well, in this particular situation, we got one people for each side and trying to shot as many as we can, so people don't try to sneak in or anything like that, and making presence. So, well, people try sometimes to push, but they don't can just get killed.
I mean, one thing I kind of want to touch on is you guys actually made it all the way from the qualifiers up to the grand final, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, you're correct.
So how would you say that going into the qualifiers, did you feel confident in getting all the way to the grand finals, or do you think, you know what, it'll be good practice either way? And also, how do the lobbies change from the RO64 to the grand finals now?
Well, it was quite difficult right now. The match, people are just really good by shooting and by their position. But we take the qualifiers as practice, as because we are confident that we were going to qualify. So we only try to use it for practice. You know? Sorry about the English.
Oh no,
it's all right, man.
You're perfectly fine. If I had to go back and try to speak in other languages and do an interview, I'd be nervous. You're killing it, man. So that's it. We haven't had a chance to really get a chance to know you. Is there anything that you'd like to tell us about yourself, or anything that you want to tell the fans?
No. I mean, well, people watching, they're spamming the logo. So thanks a lot for all the people cheering for us. Not much about me. I think that this time should be most for the team, not for me.
Well, you guys have been killing it. I just want to say thank you so much for coming in for the interview and providing us a little bit of insight. So with this, I think we're going to start getting everything set up to move into the next game so that way you can get a little bit of a breather. Thank you so much. And I just want to say you guys have been impressive, and I just hope the streak continues.
Okay, thanks a lot, and thanks by the opportunity to play this tournament because, well, it's not that much tournaments while we wait for the PCI, and the rest of the teams needs some space. So thanks.
Hey, thank you for joining us, man. But that is it for the interview. Let's see if we can maybe take a quick look over towards the leaderboards, see exactly how things are stacking up. I mean, some really strong plays coming out from a lot of these teams. Comets making it into that late game, securing themselves that first place, getting up to 39 points overall. Super impressive there. Not the most kill heavy as, I mean, compared to a lot of the other teams, they're pretty middle of the pack in terms of kills, but it just shows that if you're strategic, you get a good position and you're able to kind of take those kills when you need to, as opposed to just over flexing and constantly trying to frag. It can get you some serious placement points, some serious kills as well, and get you pretty hard up that leaderboard.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing the differences of play styles right now. Like, Comets over there leaning into most of their stuff coming off placement points. A Crash, on the other side of it, it's like, give me every single kill that I can possibly find and using that to climb through. Meanwhile, Veritas, just too easy, a little bit more balanced in their approaches looking through. TAC 8 back behind that at 32 points. 30 points coming up for Old Times. Still pretty close, all things considered, back over towards the left side, especially when we've got Young Kings back behind that. Synergy 1 point behind them. And then two-way tie for 9th coming through between Trolls and Chat. Illusion and No Cap, 1 more point back behind them.
Yeah, and I love to see it when kind of the middle pack is always really tight, because it feels like those are the teams that end up fighting each other more than anyone else. Like, sure, those teams at the top, they frag out against a bunch, but I'm not sure what it is, but it feels like almost as soon as you see a team that's really close to in points, somehow, whether it's PUBG just giving you awkward circles, knowing what the scoreboard's like magically, it kind of forces teams to fight. And I love seeing how competitive it can get around the middle of the leaderboard. But I think another interesting stat to look at is going to be our kill points overall, and we'll see who our top fragger is. Just a reminder, guys, our sponsors over at Stints Built are providing some custom 303 goodies to the top fragger at the end of each day. And as we go into match number 5 in a couple seconds, we'll see Gazera and Keenan both tied for that top fragging position right now.
I want to point out something very important. Veritas has 21 kills right now to their name. That means that Keenan is holding down over 50% of the total kills for the team. On the other side of this, whenever we're looking Crash, Gazera, 11 kills, 24 kills for that team. These guys have been absolute powerhouses for their teams and just pumping out points. We just talked just too easy a second ago. These guys are absolutely performing. Hikerman, though, is a very interesting standout with 8 kills for his team, because remember, Comets only has 18, all things considered, so that's a big performance coming out from him.
Yeah, and I really like the way that he played, because he was kind of that entry fragger onto a lot of the fights, and I think it really shows, because typically when you get an entry fragger, they'll get one knock, they go down, and it kind of opens up the fight for the team. Whereas the way that Hickerman kind of plays, he gets that opening knock, backs off, and then the rest of the team set up a firing line. And it works beautifully for them. But, ladies and gentlemen, let's hop into Miramar for our final game of the evening.
Plane path going over Impala around El Pozo. Everybody's starting to make the jumps back over towards it. Gas cans going for that far stretch back over towards the north. So a little bit of contested drops. That's kind of been the theme of today so far, Chunks. Just been action and early fights galore. So to the detriment of a couple of teams. Now, that said, I still have my eyes back over around Monte as the fight for the day has been continual. Crash, Slappers. Crash has been winning it out back over on Erengel's side, but Slappers managed to inflict some damage of their own last time. So with this, drop's going to be coming through right up on top of each other. So a little bit of, I believe it's going to be RBN back over towards the beginning of it. Slapper's still going to continue forward with it. So Crash does have the high point on this, but a quick drop coming back in for Slappers means the fact that they're going to be able to land and grab guns super fast.
And Hambino's going to be able to land on his feet this time, so he's not going to be going out too early for them, which is great. So it is going to be a 4v4 fight. The only downside is going to be, or maybe a positive, depending on what weapons they're able to get. There's 2 players on top of this hill. They can't provide immediate support to players like Drassel here, who are in a very, very close fight. And we see the circle is going to be pretty hard up to the north, and this entire northern side of the circle is just empty. So teams like Guadalajara Gascans just too easy. Illusion even are going to have really good priority into getting zone control here.
You hit on a great note just a second before I pushed back over towards the circle, and that was Memo and Hambino's positioning. They did get a chance to go ahead and grab guns and everything else like that, but they're on a hill. So that means if they're going to go back and try to reinforce Drassel and Sophia, they're going to have to put themselves in a risk position as they make the jump down. Because everybody knows when you make that little bit of a thud on the ground and you end up stuck in position, there's nothing worse than that, because it feels like you can just be absolutely picked apart.
Yeah, and I mean, that's because you were just so vulnerable in a position like that. You can't even ADS for the first, like, half second. So even if you are, even if you do get the drop on a player, you see him in front of you, there's always the potential they'll be able to take you out. As Monty now actually going to be going down to the micro Uzi. They're going to be able to pick that one up. And honestly, 3 teams in Leonis, like, I know it's a pretty big city. 2 is already nerve-wracking. 3... I'd be sweating if I was one of these Leonis teams right now.
It's not comfortable. I mean, Monty's definitely not feeling too good about it, as we did see a little bit of thing happen with him just a second ago. VHZ rocking the Winnie and the Uzi. That's a double up recipe for disaster. If somebody walks up on this guy, he's going to be able to pump out damage a super close range. So with this, Drassel has to be ridiculously careful playing around the outside of these positions. Do note that we still have the other 2 members for Slapper still in that high ground positioning. Hopefully they have some range to work with. VHZ playing this very, very slow. Gazera starting to make a little bit of a play back over towards the road, trying to get a couple of shots back over towards Sophia. Not a lot of cover to work with off of that one, so can't make too much of an aggressive play for it. We do have kind of a contained fight that's happening with this, where we have 2 members of Slappers back down on the low ground, trying to hold out the line. Meanwhile, the other 2 members trying to figure out, okay, do we commit to making the run back down there for support, or do we keep the range cover?
Oh, a nice, like, burst fire headshot coming out from Sophia there. He did get spotted up by Gazera, and he did a little bit of damage over towards Sophia, but now he's been able to get the opening knocks. This could open up the fight here for Slappers, as it will give them the opportunity to start moving down the hill potentially and try and group up onto this. As Sophia just moving off to the north. He tries to go for the flush, but he goes right past it right now. Kaishan going to be moving in. I'm not sure whether he was even going for the flush here. It almost seems like he just wants to get aggressive onto a crash now.
Waiting for a peek around the side. Good read on what's happening. Listening into those footsteps. Sophia now knows all by lonesome. Got to be careful with this one. Taking down about half life. Stepping back around for the angle onto it. Do note the fact that Kresh has numbers galore back over towards this angle. But Hambino did leave the high ground positioning. Trying to provide a little bit of support. Taking those shots at range. Trying to harass in through it. And does manage to get a shot back over towards him. And a flush. So yes, we did see Sophia go down. But now RB in has to make the play back over around the angle. Does manage to flush out Sophia. So with this, Memo's going to make the play back over towards Drassel. Looking back over towards VHZ and going to be able to find a sneaky angle for this, but do note the positioning coming through. Windows in that angle are absolutely detriment from Memo, so going to have to play this one a little bit more carefully and a little bit more stealthily.
King hit the Winnie headshot on towards Drassel. That is not a way you want to be going out. Memo going to be trying to move in for the res now, but I mean, it's not a great position right now if you are Slappers, because all 3 of your players, sure, you're grouped up together, you can play for trade. Only 2 of them are standing. Theoretically, if a Kresh decides to send these 2 players in over from the east, it could end up absolutely ruining Slapper's day right now. It's a nice spray coming out from King over towards Hambino. He will be able to call this out to the rest of the team, as now Gazera from the side angle connects with the bolt. Memo and Drassel, the 2 remaining players, trying to make a push on towards this right now. Memo going to be moving in with the AK as King popping out the side. Takes down Drassel for a second time now. So, I mean, King, he should be able to pick up this kill. It's going to be hard now for Memo to really make anything happen, because after you've been knocked twice and you bleed out just so quickly, Memo going to try and stick the res now, but a Kresh have been able to group up. They're starting to group up outside of this building. They want to go for this flush.
I love the play back over on that. Nice reposition onto it, and good play coming out from Memo, having an idea on what's going on. Does manage to get the knockback over towards it. Drassel's near on dead. Gonna have to just abandon this one. Not enough time to get the res back over towards him. So now Memo has to figure out some type of sneaky play to make of his own. And look at the creep around the angle onto this, using that tiny bit of the ledge to try to find some type of play. Crash with 3 members up, still trying to find the angle to work with, and it's still just Memo. Memo tries to find the angle, not going to get much out of it. Hambino is still bleeding out back behind this. Not enough time, so Memo knows got to commit to a play or try to make something happen. Firmly surrounded, steps right into a grenade and a bullet spray, and Slappers go out first yet again.
Look at the BM coming out here from a crash. They are fed up with these hot drops, you know. I mean, come on, Slappers managed to win it last game, but this game, not so much. I mean, I'm mostly impressed with that Winnie knock. That's something we very rarely see in comp. And you know what? It just makes me smile a little. Drassel, of all people, getting knocked with the bolt after he refused to bolt this event. And I'm not letting him live it down. I want to see Drassel bust out the bolt sooner or later.
I mean, it's just the Winnie, man. There's something about the Winnie. Every single time you see a kill with it, it just feels stylish. You know what I mean? It's just like there's a little bit of ego whenever you take the shots with a Winnie. You know, you're like, I have complete faith that I'm going to be able to hit this. I know I'm not going to be sniping from range, but it's just like that old school cowboy feel when you just start walking and with every shot just like click loading with it. It's just so much fun.
Nothing more satisfying than hitting a Winnie shot. Like, I mean, as much as you love, you know, hitting like an M24 or a K9, that Winnie is just something about the scope on it. It just feels so clean when you hit a shot here. But I mean, we see Dodge, they're down on the southern side. They're going to start rotating in. Sorry, up on the northern side, I should say. They're going to start rotating in here, but Illusion, they have a nice pinch going on. This could be a bit of a trap that Dodge are walking into. Is Matthew going to be opening up? Freemy doing the same. And Dodge, they have to turn away off of this now as they've taken a little bit of damage. Trying to disengage. Freemy with the mini doing something, but it's just not going to be enough. Icy off to the north, however, could potentially be waiting Dodge out here if they decide to move back down the hill.
I like the fact that Dodge are getting a read on what's happening to them. We've been talking a lot about Slappers and what's been going on with them and the struggles that they've been facing, but this time around we haven't had a chance to really talk about Dodge having similar problems. They figured out what was going on, they realized that they might have been walking into a trap, got a read on what was going on, and managed to keep all of their members up and alive.
Yeah, we did see Fury down on the southern side, catching Comets out on the rotate. Beautiful headshot coming out from Flood. Is Cal going to be able to clean that one up? Comets, after a really good, you know, set of games today, are going to be going down in 15th. Nothing to be worried about, though. They're out there in first at the moment. They're more than happy. But Ronan, he is getting pinned down from Ripper and beams from Enigma now, as Enigma starting to try and get an angle on towards this. The rest of Fury going to be moving over the hill for a bit of support. But, I mean, Ronan, he gets caught from the side. It's not a position you want to be in. Hello Senpai will be able to get the knock on towards it, trying to blow up the car for the flush, but it might just take a little bit too long, because the rest of Fury now coming in to try and get the revive on towards this.
This is its own contained fight. There's no third party, there's no anything else. It's just aim, territory control, and movement. And right now, Enigma has the advantage going back over towards it. Ronin is down, clustered back over in the small bit of cover that's remaining, but Waikakamukau looks like starting to make a little bit of a play, hopping inside of a vehicle and might be trying to find a side advantage to work from.
Yeah, as the circle will pull over to the east here, so these teams, they don't have to worry too much about rotating. Now, the issue with a circle like this is that huge valley of a road down in the middle. It can make things so rough, so you really have to bank on that northern or the southern side early on in the game. But we do see Dodge here. They're going to be moving into this compound. Icy will get a couple shots thrown over towards him, so he will decide to hop in the bike and try and disengage. As Illusion, they have a bit of a way to go to get into zone. Gas cans with a really strong split in this position for the time being. They will have pretty much the center of the circle. Three nice little compounds they're going to be grabbing. The issue is, though, in a lobby like this, do you want to be taking these wide splits, especially when there's very limited cover in terms of compounds inside this circle? These players could end up getting picked off one by one.
In this terrain, though, that's kind of the gamble that a lot of people are thinking. Like, okay, we know that there's strength in numbers, but the problem with it is the fact that they don't know where the crashes are going to happen and what's going to occur. Specifically, there's the Death Star Trench, or whatever you want to call it. That is the dip that happens just outside of Azahar, where it's just this run down through everything. And you can see, if you have to cross through this north to south at any given stage in the late game, you're just dead. there's no real way to work. There's going to be somebody holding down high ground on one or both sides, and there's going to be constant vision to work from. So some of these teams like to run a 2-2 split to get a little bit more safety. So that way, if the circle pops one way or the other, at least 2 of their members don't have to worry about making the run.
And I really think we're going to see that now, where teams... They were outside the zone, they were over to the west. Now they're going to have to start worrying. They know that this dip's in place, and they don't really want to send it too deep into a position like Just Too Easy have. Instead, most likely going to be forced to play the edge right now, which is why we see teams like Synergy pulling up on what realistically aren't great positions, just so they are able to kind of play these roads for the rotate. Synergy keeping an eye out, but Fury, they do have insight up on top of this hill, who will be trying to connect with the line of sight. Nothing for the time being, but Fury with a nice little split over to the east of Synergy, they could potentially cluster up on towards Synergy's position and take a fight and cause some damage here.
There's so many awkward little fights that can happen around this position. I mean, we just have essentially a northern and a southern sector to fight in with that trench that's making the big play that's happening. A lot of very long northern rotations are coming into play. As you can see, it's going to be Old Times and Young Kings trying to make some type of play. Dodge still just trying to make a little bit of a play of their own. Going to be running along next to where Illusion was at, but did manage to find themselves they're having some struggles, man. They're like, every single bump seems to be just shooting them straight up into the moon right now. So with this, everybody does look like they're starting to get their own comfortable control point. The only ones that are a little bit risky right now are going to be back down towards the south. Cresh's positioning, SG, and Fury finding themselves in a awkward position as a lot of teams have managed to get very close to their high ground. The benefit of high ground is, yeah, you can shoot for days, but the moment somebody makes it down below you, you have to be constantly nervous because just a well-cooked grenade can destroy you from that position.
And even more so if they have teammates over to the west, like SG do, with Pippa taking some really long-range mini shots, will be peppering on towards Insight. Not enough to do any real damage, but that will open up Insight here to the possibility of a grenade, as the circle does shift hard to the south. Honey Badger going to be going down now. Gascan's going to have to start making a rotate down in towards this position. And we saw a very similar circle where Gascan's kind of played this Fury split. It ended up working out. Cow has been flushed out, as now Gascan's, they tried to go for the res on towards Honey Badger. They hear Zealot pulling in. So now Nico's just trying his best to disengage. Zealot gets the flush on towards Honey Badger, going for the tires to try to spin out the vehicle, but it's not going to be enough, as now Ecos will be able to disengage, but Gascans, they have to try and group up right now with Just Too Easy in the middle of them.
This is the problem, is just like you're talking about. Just Too Easy's already inside a position. Luckily, they do opt into playing down inside the trench. Nobody is holding down position. With gas cans moving, that means that Just Too Easy manages to make a cross in one of the most difficult positions ever. So now with this, gas cans opt into playing over towards gas stations, have themselves a nice little bit of control to play for right now. The issue comes into play is, again, if they have to move from this, it's a potential bloodbath. T8 already making a play back over on the other side of it. With those shots back over towards the one number of gas cans to take down Honey Badger, suddenly the North has free capabilities to move.
Yeah, and I mean, gas cans were in such a threatening position until that zone pulled hard south. It's interesting how just one zone can absolutely flip a position from being one of the strongest to one of the weakest. If you're split out in a 2-1-1 split like gas cans were, and that circle shifts away, you know every team is going to be rotating through you, and it's going to make it so hard right here for players to actually make it through. We do see Old Times here, though. They're going to be pushing over to the northeast, trying to make it through Elazar, as actually Selfish going to be getting caught out down the hill, pinned down from TAC 8 over across the way. Detonator with some big shots on towards Lekro, with low key connecting as well from Just Too Easy. As I really like this junkyard compound in a position like this. We do see Young Kings. They're going to have a bit of a rough rotate coming through Elazar, taking a lot of fire here from Tactical 8, as they will also be potentially tanking blue damage if they're not able to make it in too quickly here. But I mean, there are just so many teams that are going to cluster up on this northeastern side now. Gas cans just chilling in the gas station, and oh no.
Just rolling down the hills. Oh, the grenades come out. Gas cans don't even have to really try. They're just underhanded tossing grenades out. Finally, so the gas cans go down, and a second one almost goes down as well. But Old Times, man, sometimes cars are just a problem, and it feels like it's a problem for them. Gas cans should be able to get the res based off of this, but This is the problem now that's starting to mount. If you're a northern team across from that road, it's going to be very difficult to try to row through. So if we see a shift back down towards the south, look at all the teams already set up in defensive positionings. Just Too Easy already has the high ground, taking some shots back over towards them, and now we get a shift back over towards the west. So with this, Enigma is starting to be a little bit more aggressive, back over towards Young Kings. Has to keep an eye back over to where we see Just Too Easy playing. So I believe that we are set and ready to listen in with a set of comms from them.
Hole? Yeah, like literally
On blue?
320.
I'm on my way. I have no
Yeah,
clue.
100% on that smoke.
We have the guys on green that have to move, by the way, so we don't need to go too aggro.
Yeah,
I see the smoke. I'm just gonna
No,
spam it a little.
Just chill. We don't do anything. He's not in that smoke. He's to the right of him.
Yeah, I see him.
Oh, he is in that smoke, dude. That's a fat Riz.
Yeah, nice.
We're getting pushed from green cow, bro.
Yes,
We don't need to overextend.
yeah,
and
we can kill the guys green easy.
Only one I got.
Come on. We need to save them for later. Once we kill these green guys, it's easy as fuck.
I'm gonna go get more smoke.
Well, yeah, teams like Gas and Hog's not yellow have to come. Yeah, teams like Gas will have to come.
Remember, we still have people on 3 as well.
And we just gotta vibe, kill these guys on green, and then we're chilling.
Yeah, Shaq is throwing smokes. Here, hold them. I'm gonna go get more smokes. I only have I have 7. I need more.
Does Shaq still have his tires on there?
I would say it's fair to assume
His
no,
tag
but
points,
you
nice.
could.
No visual on him if he's shooting you.
So with this, I know we want to listen to the comms, but there's a fight breaking off towards the north. It's ATC and Dodge. Due up as they crest the top of the hill. They find themselves in close range combat with each other, but let's not forget there's a potential third party. I don't even know if it's a potential third party. It is a definite third party that's running in as Illusion. Wants a piece of the action and is trying to find the angle to work with. At long range, Veritas is taking in super good shots back over onto the side of Dodge. ATC trying to get some distance away from Illusion. Running up along the hillside, just trying to get some distance back over towards it, is forcing everybody from Dodge back over into an angle that BTS is going to be able to take the shots from. Now, finally hopping into the vehicle, Dodge is just trying to roll through, but guess what? There is another contender just on the side of this hill. It's going to be no cap, and Dodge knows. Instead, slams on the brakes, buys themselves a little bit more time, but the fight still continues as Illusion and ATC are still in close range.
ATC, they have a big push to be able to make here, relying on that utility to try and get it across. Flood from Fury going to be making the third party from far down to the south. There's a long-range spray coming out from Norkis. Does a lot of damage, not really going to be able to connect on towards too much, though. Needs to pop the reload as Norkis and Light Show, the 2 remaining players. Long-range third party still going to be landing in. There's Illusion going down to ATC now. Nice kills coming out here from them. But ATC, they still have a bit of a way to go. They don't really have much cover to be able to work with. We did see gas cans. They third-partied on towards this fight with Enigma and Young Kings, as Nico's going to be the final player left up. Adam will be getting flushed out. He's playing low behind the vehicles, but he is going to be spotted out. JR moving in with the flashbang as his teammate far behind with those mini 14 shots. Will be able to get the kill, but the vehicle's about to blow. JR, you got to run, dude. He makes it out safely, so Enigma will be staying up as ATC now getting finished off by Fury with some extremely long-range shots, but Just Too Easy. They heard this fight kicking off. They've been waiting until this zone popped to realize what they were going to be able to do, but now they realize, look, it's a good position. We can take this fight without having to worry too much. Beam's taking a little bit of damage as Songxing looking to try and get the trade on towards it. Will be able to take down one, but JR with the trade takes down Songxing. Kodak Kid also getting taken out now as Low-Key and Ribbo, the 2 remaining players here for Just Too Easy. Low-Key, he's nowhere to be found, and long-range shots raining in from No Cap towards him aren't going to slow down the push, as Ribbo just going to try and get back towards this compound now.
While this has been going on, we have a potential brewing fight that's happening where T8 is starting to make a play back over towards Crash. SG on the other side of it, none of them inside the safe zone. And there's still long-range shots that are going back over between Enigma after they managed to leave the compound that they were in and push back over towards Gas Can to get control back over towards that. Veritas, who was taking shots quite a while ago, could look back over towards SG's positioning as well. SG has to pull back away from this fight and move towards the west, now leaving this a little bit more contained, with TAC 8 having the high ground, looking back into a fortified Crash that is going to have to move. The question comes into play is how many different small fights could we see go off? And how are we going to see this distract the teams that might lose track of what's going on in the danger close positions?
Yeah, we see TAC 8. They are going to be kind of flexing out to try and hold out a crash here, but we did see Synergy start to make a rotate through as Keenan landed a nice opening nade on towards them. Veritas are going to be opening up as D-Treats with a nice headshot on towards Danny. As, I mean, Randy and Fisher, the two remaining players. Randy gets taken out. Fisher, the final one left up, goes for the M4 spray, takes down Michael. Nice headshot, going to be able to connect. Molotov coming into attempt to go for the flush, but D-Treats pops up, does a lot of damage. Fisher, only 10 bullets left in his gun, making 5 as now he's going to be forced to pop down low. Goes for the first aid, but he also needs to find time to reload. Keenan going to be pushing in over around the top side of the hill. Knows the player's prone behind here as more and more flashbangs starting to land in. He's trying to make the run. Fury going to be able to take down one for Keenan, cleaning up the fight. Down goes Synergy, but we saw T8. They open up the fight on towards a crash as well now, as they will be getting eliminated, trying to work their way out. Smoke's coming down from Veritas. They're going to try and make the run, but no cap. They see this fight kicking off. They want to try and third party onto it, and they are going to do everything in their power to connect now.
Veritas has the high ground advantage, but Cap is trying to close this as fast as they can. Really, Veritas still looking back over towards the distance, not going to really realize how close that No Cap is trying to make this one out to be. Running right up the hillside, grenade upon grenade, landing right on top of him, and Veritas now starting to weather the storm of grenades that are landing upon them, trying to move forward by themselves as well. The circle is about to reveal where the next spot that we're going to see all the violence break down into, and is just on the other side of this hillside, which doesn't seem like it's too far until you realize this is the end of the covered positions for both of these teams. They know that they're going to have to fight this one, and a quick run down through this one. Flamey manages to hold the line and take down Jasno, who's trying to play outside the smokes. So with this, Veritas now has to figure out, do they continue this one, or do they just hunker down and try to weather the storm?
Yeah, no cap. They start to move down the hill now as Hello Senpai with the third party. We did see T8. They tried to make a push in towards Fury, but left with only one player left standing. Veritas working away. That motorcycle's going to be low. They're forced to hop off now as Fury picking up even more kills on towards Michael. This is a huge game for them now. They haven't had the best start, but they are definitely picking it off towards the end as the Molotov comes down here from inside, taking it up to 12 kills for Fury. This is huge for them. Only 2 players standing here. 9 kills for Flood alone, but Beam starts to open up now from the north as Enigma starting to get involved on towards this. Molotovs will be landing in. Flood just going to be popping up over the top, but Beam should know this. He's played this game enough. He should know that player is up top, but Insight from the side angle with a nice spray takes down. Beam's going to try and take down one more, but that fence providing cover. He's called it out to Flood now as he preps the flashbang, wants to make this happen. JR and Senpai, the 2 players left up for Enigma, need to start making a push aggressively. No cap aren't going to be able to third party onto this. The building's providing enough coverage. Flood trying to back off now to work with Insight to try and clear out these squads nice and carefully. Ribbo going to be going down to no cap as they start to make push, but Flood can't get distracted here. Hello Senpai going down as JR, the last one standing, but it's not going to be enough as Insight, he takes down Hello, but JR takes down the final 2. Fury eliminated in 4th now.
No Cap has used this opportunity to reposition and start to push into the center point. They have control over everything, looking back over towards Just Too Easy's positioning. Meanwhile, Enigma still trying to get back up after Fury and holding out for so long. With this, you can see that we are in a 3v4v1 as Low-Key hits a beautiful shot back over towards Beamy. With this, I believe that we are set, and we're going to take a quick listen into No Cap's comms.
Yeah, it's 1-1.
Smoke if you can. I'm a bit scared if they peeked up.
I don't have any
He's just trying to pick it. He's slow walking up.
Smoking 5 smokes, drop. I want above you guys.
Knocked him.
Where's that? Where's that?
The other guy's pushing. He's pushing.
Yep.
Looking.
He can't push over. Okay, you're fine. Body shot.
Nice. 4v3.
One
knock to the combat.
4v3. Healing. I'm gonna start pushing up on the compound.
I'm getting a little bit more control. I'm getting more control.
It's 4v3.
It's only phase 6.
Yeah.
We got plenty of time to fight this.
Yeah.
We have zone even.
Yeah, we have a lot of control.
I'm just on so. Wait, circle.
Just be careful up there, please.
Yeah.
They might have cars.
Yep.
I'm gonna go loot that guy if I can.
Okay. I have no more smokes or utility.
Flamey can't get knocked. If Flamey gets knocked,
you just gotta.
Yeah, no, they're looking like out towards screen. They're moving
Okay,
vehicle.
car. Rado.
They're gonna pull up on me.
I got 9 smoke. I'm a fucking M249 beam.
One is peeking. They're gonna pull up on me.
Okay.
I'm gonna run towards Flamey.
There was only one guy. There's only one guy. He stopped on green. He's gonna blow up.
Yep.
Another buggy going? There's you too. Nothing?
Nice. Still missing one guy.
We're still one above us, yeah.
Yeah,
Still one above us.
one in the compound still. We know there was one on the tree on that truck, so we just...
He's in the dip!
Okay, yeah.
Headshot.
Nice. Healing. I can watch with this guy above. Yeah, I can watch with this guy above.
He's running right? No, you can't.
Oh shit, I can't push that.
That's chill. Just wait for him, like he needs to come to you.
Yeah, I can easily hold him.
Teammates trying to hold me?
Yeah, we gotta chill. Running back down, Plube.
Yeah. We need to kill that guy behind us.
He's prone on my marker.
Yeah, focusing east.
I'm getting flashbang from above.
Yeah, I'm just watching
He's
above
like
you.
south, 160.
He's gonna come on the rock. Big rock on you.
Looking?
Wait, no, he's way south.
Oh, he's way south. I don't know.
The guy on blue is shooting me. Bandaging.
Can't see him.
You guys had the smoke, right?
Yeah, he's at the smoke. Yeah, on blue.
Oh, seen him? Almost knocked him! Close smoke on blue edge! Almost knocked!
Which one is knocked?
No. Our guy.
Yeah, the one on blue.
I'm looking for this guy utiling on the side over here, 185. At it.
He's throwing mollies on me. Yeah, he's throwing mollies on me.
Still have hard zone it. Just stalling us.
Yeah, just chill.
Just win.
Just swelling him. Yeah. He's still playing these smokes close to us.
Yeah.
Yep, he's still there. He's still there on blue.
The fading.
I'm just gonna beam him when he comes out. I have M249.
I think I headed him. Yeah, I headed him. He's smoking above me. 190.
Yeah. See it. Just focus on the guy below. At it. I can watch you above. You're fine.
Okay. Headshot him. Knocked him.
Nice.
Nice.
What's above you?
He's running towards you.
Bush. Dominate him, Maddie! Fuck him up!
Let's go!
An amazing win coming out there from Enigma as they pick up the chicken dinner. And I know we don't usually stay on player comms for that long, but I think it's important to point out just how well they were communicating. Every little thing they were doing, they were talking, the team were all on the same page. And I mean, honestly, Plube with that M249, that was the highlight of my game right there.
I just like to hear the victory whenever they get the win and hear that moment of yeah right before everything goes off. I mean, solid performance coming out from them. You saw the way that No Cap held down the circle. They took advantage of it based off of positioning. They just knew that whenever we moved into that section of it, that terrain is pretty flat. There's just a couple of rocks to play from. They sent a couple of members right up into the forefront of the rocks and a couple more back at range, and then they just had it on lock after that. And then they had the numbers advantage to boot. So that is the perfect time to listen in on how teams communicate and handle situations like that.
Yeah, and I mean, the guy that we spent a lot of time on, Plube, he's going to be hopping in here for an interview now. So, Mr. Plube, the M249, really?
Wait, what?
The M249?
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah. I couldn't find an AR the entire game, and I was not going to pick up a SCAR. It wasn't happening.
I'm not going to judge. I love that gun, and there's nothing like that gun can make or break an in-game just because of, I know that there's like no suppressing fire, but by God, there is suppressing fire whenever you've got that gun. You might not necessarily hit anything, but if you just spray for long enough, it'll terrify some people.
Yeah, it'll hit something eventually, you know?
Yeah,
and I gotta say, that LMG damage onto the vehicles, you know, I'm obviously you couldn't see it, but JR got absolutely was it? No, it wasn't JR, was it? It was somebody got absolutely lit up when the vehicle exploded right next to them. And I mean, you guys just laid down fire, did so much damage, and it just shows those LMGs, even though, you know, everyone likes to treat them as kind of a meme gun, they can be so powerful in terms of taking down vehicles.
Oh yeah, so when he was gonna push down with vehicles, I seized the opportunity. I fucking saw it. I was like, oh, I can just prone right here. This is a free, like, no recoil beam. And tried to get rid of their cover as much as I could. And if there was a kill, then by all means, go for it. Like, whoever was in the buggy, I remember, they got fucked over because I think he was panicking. And he ended up, like, hitting that rock, and he flew over his cover. And it just presented an opportunity for a free knock to make it more in our favor, you know?
I just love how we went through the entirety of listening to you guys' comms, not a single cuss word, and then you drop one in the interview. That style, sir, I appreciate it. All right, so I gotta ask, what's going on with the name, man? Are you Burgers?
Burgers KK. I'm the new member of IFR, and all of them have food names. So you got like IFR Fries KK, you got like IFR Milk Tea, etc. And in order to be a part of the group, you know, you're gonna have to conform to it. So I feel committed to Burgers KK.
You know what? I like it.
I'm a Texan, dude. Burgers for days. I actually want a burger super bad right now, so no judgments off of it.
Yeah, I mean, after a game like that, how does that affect your confidence? Obviously, the last game of the day, how does that kind of give you a boost going into tomorrow? Do you feel like you'll be able to, you know, carry that momentum over? Or is it just a case of, you know, the same way that teams, after kind of a rough day, kind of they mentally reset and they want to go into it fresh every time?
I think having that win at the very end was actually kind of good for us because we did kind of bad after like the first game. Like, I think through the second through fourth game, there were like definitely times where we could have done a lot better as a team, and we were just doing like really dumb shit and like not getting anything from it. So I think that last game, I don't remember how many kills we had. I forgot to ask how many we had, but just having that extra like 10 points for the win and then whatever we stacked up on kills helps a lot going into tomorrow. Because at least like I think we're going to be at a good position from today. It could be worse. We could have just done like really bad and gone into tomorrow with like a 10-point day and whatnot. So it's definitely good to have that win on the back.
Hey, it's all momentum up from there. Good performance coming out. Just to give you a heads up, 16 kills moving into that round is where you guys were sitting with a total of 20. So we're going to be seeing the scoreboard here in just 1 second. You guys, see, it's weird because usually we kind of ask you about how the end game went down, but we got to listen to your comms through the entirety of how it went down, so we have an idea on what's going through with this. And the question I have is, whenever we're looking at all of these different regions coming together to compete inside of this, what are some of the hurdles that you guys are looking at? Is it the amount of research that you have to do? Is it about like just trying to figure out how drops and rotations come into play? Like, what do you put forth into playing into an event like this?
I don't know. It's definitely interesting seeing how some of these other regions play because okay, this is going to be a little toxic, but I didn't expect some of these regions to do as well as they're doing. And I don't know, it's really interesting to see how a lot of these like rotations and fights play out because I mean, it's like things that I would expect happen in like a different lobby don't happen in this lobby necessarily. People don't get punished as hard for like certain things and like certain pushes. So it's kind of hard to adjust because it's like almost like unpredictability. Like I don't know what these teams are gonna do exactly. Every lobby and like whatnot is just very different from each other. So it's hard to really tell and do like research. Like you could like, I don't know. I'm not the IGL. I just sit there point and click. But definitely just, I don't know, just really unpredictable with all these different regions and whatnot.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing I want to ask you as well, a lot of players and viewers might not be aware, but now that we're in the grand finals, every single win in the grand finals picks up an extra $100 bonus. How much of that how much of an incentive is that to you guys to kind of, you know, we see teams often be like, it's not going to be, you know, a win for us. Let's just go for some kills. How much does that kind of change the mindset to, hey, we're in the top 5. Let's just play for the win here as hard as we can instead of let's just frag out?
I'm going to be honest. I don't even think money was brought up once in our team. We're just here just to do our best, honestly. I think Adit brought it up once and he mentioned like, hey, we get like $100 for like every win at the very end of that last win, but I don't think it was brought up like any other point, I don't even think we're here for the money. We're just here to make a statement, you know?
I mean,
Well,
a statement is what you just made, yeah.
Yeah, I respect it. You guys, you're bringing in here a little bit of banter, a little bit of style, and now saying, hey, it's not about the money, it's about the pride. All about it, man. All about it.
Mm-hmm. And then
I mean,
it just so happens if we win, it's like extra pocket change, you know?
Hey, I mean, it's just gravy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're just here to prove a point, get the wins. But I think, do we have the leaderboards? I think they should be updated. Yeah, I think they are. So we are gonna, before we go to the leaderboards, actually, let's take a quick thank you for our sponsors, just to make sure that they are all updated properly. First of all, huge shout out to Fred Hutch. They are an awesome organization doing some COVID and cancer research. They are absolutely awesome. Please do me a favor, go check them out. 303, we've set ourselves the goal of raising $25,000 for them by the end of the year. Not forgetting as well, Glitch Energy, who they support 303 always. So make sure you go and check those guys out. Use code 303 for a discount on your order. And finally, shout out to River for hooking us up with some awesome music that we're using. A lot of the songs in our playlist, they're provided by River. So huge shout out there. Make sure you do River, I believe it is in chat. I'm sure the mods will correct me on that. Make sure you go and check them out. Awesome music. If you guys are streamers, it's all DMCA free. Don't worry. I believe we have the leaderboards. Are they? Yes, they are. And we see, I mean, out there in first at the moment, Team Veritas with 43 overall points, and then a three-way tie for second.
Oh, keep it up. This is the type of games that I like to see whenever we got an event this close, because it's not just a three-way tie. Look right back behind that. It's another two-way tie, just 1 point back behind it. Crash, Tac 8, Comets, No Cap, just too easy. 1 point separates all of these teams for second place. That is absolutely and utterly nuts.
I will say, it does seem like we had a little bit of a drop-off down towards the end. But, I mean, Fury, we were saying coming into this game, they needed to pick it up. 22 kills, I think something like 15 of those were... I think it was 13 of those were last game alone. That is an absolutely huge come-up for them, and I mean, if that's a sign of what they're going to bring to the rest of the grand finals, this is going to be huge for them.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we got a lot of power, a lot of like close fights that are happening back over towards the left. Right side, like you were talking about with Fury, still pretty close. Got Synergy back behind them. Any trolls in chat. Young Kings also tied back behind them. But man, I just don't know what's going on with Gas Cans, Slappers, and Dodge. Slappers, I feel like it's a matter of pride. They're like, no, we want to fight Crash early. And I mean, there's a lot to be said. Really, let's be real. There's a lot of experience that he had fighting in an event cross region where you're constantly getting hot drops. So that's why I respect both teams for committing to stay on it, because you can really get a lot out of this. And so with this, Slappers, while not getting a lot of points, could be getting a lot of potential experience out of it. But Guadalajara, Gas Cans, and Dodge, and Slappers really too, it's just early game woes abounding for them.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they can pick it up towards the end, get some more, kill points, that kind of thing. But, it's the end of the evening. All of our games are done. So the final sponsor I want to shout out is the one and only Stintsbill. And he is supporting 303 and the Royale by providing a player of the day every day in the grand finals. And today's player of the day is, obviously Keenan. 15 kills, over 2,000 damage in the space of 5 games. That is absolutely huge. Keenan, you are going to be hooked up, courtesy of Stintsbill, with a custom 303 desk mousepad. These things are huge as well. They look awesome. I'm thinking of getting one myself.
I mean, it was a lot coming out from Veritas today, and Keenan just stepping up in a big way for his team. We're talking about it. 26 kills overall for Veritas right now, and yes, they are in first. 15 of those kills are on your boy, Keenan. Now, it's still a team effort. He's not the only one that's doing damage, but by God, 2006 damage? That is ridiculous at this stage of the game.
Yeah, and 5 games as well, and it felt like Keenan, he didn't even start off insanely. It felt like towards the end, he kind of started picking it up. He wasn't fragging the first few games. We remember seeing Veritas, you know, having a very rough, it was either game 1 or game 2 that ended up over by school. It was not an easy start to the day for them. And to see the fact that Keenan has been able to pick it up so hard towards the end, they picked up some absolutely insane kills. That is awesome for them.
I mean, I'm trying to do caster math, guys, but let's be real. It's 2,000 divided by 5 because we played the 5 games a day. I'm going to assume that 400 is the correct answer, but you know I'm bad at math. Average 400 damage per round at a high-level lobby like this is just a phenomenal statement in and of itself. I mean, that is just so respect-worthy, and I cannot wait to see really what this team's going to continue to do through the rest of this event.
Yeah, and I mean, you know what? All of the teams, like, as much as we like talking about the top of the leaderboards, even the teams down at the bottom, you know, they have so much potential, and I'm expecting so much to come out of them. You know, my standout for the final game, though, it's got to be Fury. I mentioned it, and I really hope to see them perform this well tomorrow and next weekend, because, I mean, it's so impressive for them. But that is it for us tonight over here at the 303 Royale. It has been an awesome experience. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Matrim, for casting alongside me, and Lil Fuzzy Seal over on production. And of course, everyone behind the scenes. You guys are all awesome. Before we go, though, I do want to mention, at the end of the day, 303 Esports, we are a gaming organization, an esports organization, however you want to phrase it. We do have pro teams. We have streamers, so we are going to raid one at the end of the stream. I don't know who it is just yet, but I'm sure they are going to be awesome. So please do me a favor, stick around, show whoever we raid some love, drop them a follow, all that goodness. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. I cannot wait to see you tomorrow and see how things switch up. I will see you guys next time.